At the Pacific's northern edge, Alaska reaches out 1,000 miles into the ocean. The 300 islands of the Aleutian chain are known as the Cradle of Storms. These rocky shores hold more than 30 active volcanoes. In this ocean wilderness, bears outnumber humans almost 4 to 1.
That's a big bear.
And yet, despite the danger, more than 8,000 people call these islands home.
Life on a remote island is unlike life anywhere else.
It'll separate the men from the boys.
Living and working in some of the toughest conditions on the planet.
Hey, get out of here! Oh my God, get the gun.
Nature is cruel, mean, and miserable, and it will kill you in a heartbeat.
For them, this is the last frontier.
This is the end of the road.
A land of freedom and opportunity.
It's not the normal world. They can't teach you this in Harvard Business School.
This is life on the edge.
You gotta make things work out here in the bush.
It's summer at the remote settlement of Cold Bay. This tiny community, population 50, is home to wilderness guide Charlie Somerville.
I'm Charlie Somerville. I've been a hunter, a fishing guide, and an adventurer in Alaska for over 30 years. That's the first one of the day for lunch. There you go.
Charlie runs his business his way.
Until you're in the same situation, you really don't have the right to say and that's just me. And there's a reason that I've been called the most controversial guide in Alaska, because I really don't care what other people think sometimes.
This summer, Charlie faces the biggest challenge of his working life. He's attempting to build a wilderness lodge 25 miles away on a remote rocky outcrop known as Volcano Bay.
There's nothing that is going to pop up that's going to surprise me anymore. I've seen airplanes on beaches crashed. I've seen boats sunk. I've seen people get mauled by bears. I started out living in a tent, running wilderness raft trips, and ended up pioneering, owning, and operating 3 separate wilderness lodges.
Charlie's business is a family affair. He guides fishermen and hunters through the wilds of the Aleutians, while his wife Helen looks after the business side.
I met Helen, my wife, and told her about my life as a guide in Alaska. We started a family a few years later. She's the yin to my yang. She's always a step ahead of me. I don't know if I've got $5 in my bank account or I've got $5,000. I don't know, honestly.
I just tell him when I need money. Charlie's got a big heart. He did not get in this business to strike it rich. He's determined. He's not going to let his family go without. He's going to do whatever he has to do to put food on our table and make sure his girls, his granddaughter, and I have what we need.
The family is the driving force behind Charlie's ambitious $60,000 construction project.
I've invested my life savings in this remote cabin property. My family's depending on me to make this a success. We've got a month to get it done before our season starts.
The site for Charlie's cabin is accessible only by boat, a 2-hour journey across the icy waters of Cold Bay. The plot of newly purchased land sits amid 32,000 acres of native territory to allow lodge guests unrivaled views of the incredible landscape and wildlife.
The bears live in here. They walk through here. There's no power, no electric, nothing. We are 600 miles from Anchorage down the Aleutians out here. It's a complete 100% off-grid expedition with no help from anybody but us.
Charlie has chosen to build his cabin in July to avoid the harshest storms. The forecast suggests the weather didn't get Charlie's memo.
The thing about the weather out here is it just changes so quickly. Once this weather switches around to south-southeast, we're pretty much going to get shut down 7 a.m. Saturday. That goes total dog. Wind in the Aleutians is an everyday event. They call it the mother of wind. It's so hard to predict the weather, watch the weather, and we just constantly are getting brutalized with weather.
An incoming storm is due to hit within 48 hours. If Charlie attempts the journey now, the weather will trap him at Volcano Bay. With only a month to go before paying guests arrive, the pressure is on.
Instead of getting behind the power curve too far, we've got these 12-foot floor joists.
Charlie calls in eldest daughter Sam and new guide Dan to prep the building materials against the incoming storm. A coat of wood sealer provides a layer of protection against salt and decay.
I'm actually excited this time to be able to be involved and really be hands-on with the project. It's just a very different way of life than, especially from where I live now in Seattle, like just the hustle and bustle, everyone's constantly grinding.
Dan, 35 years an undercover narcotics veteran, knows what hard work is.
I don't miss getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and going to a meth lab. I don't miss going to dead bodies. I don't miss that stuff. So I'm enjoying my retirement.
And working as a guide in the Aleutians is no holiday. The storm strikes Cold Bay, with winds gusting up to 60 miles an hour. Charlie cannot afford to stop working. If he loses any of his supplies, his cabin won't get built in time.
If we waited for the weather every day to do nothing, we'd get nothing done.
Gotta love this weather here. You need more down there, Charlie?
If the rain gets into the lumber, the wood will warp and become useless for construction. Charlie and Dan race to protect the new building materials. Getting replacement lumber from the lower 48 would take weeks, time Charlie doesn't have.
I'll tell you what the deal is, Dan, is the wind will whip.
Yep.
And it'll just wear holes, so yeah, I've tried every technique there is, putting a couple nails through and like holding it tight.
The tarp provides protection for now, but Charlie can't know how long this storm will last. Until it ends, the construction site at Volcano Bay remains out of reach.
Out here, we got bears and wolves running down the beach at us. We got tides coming in trying to sink your boats. We've got winds howling trying to rip your camps out. And we've got deadlines with people showing up. Nature is cruel, mean, and miserable, and it will kill you in a heartbeat if you don't pay attention.
1,000 miles from the Alaskan mainland lies Umnak Island. This volcanic wilderness is home to pioneering cowboy Pat Harvey.
When I first found out about this place, and it was everything we'd hoped it would be and more, actually.
And wife Connie.
Life on a remote island is unlike life anywhere else. Out here, it is a think fast, survive or die. It is not for the faint of heart.
To make a living out here, you have to survive the island.
This island is 60 miles long and 40 miles wide. Snow-covered, it's beautiful, magnificent. You want to talk about life on the edge? We have an active volcano.
Mount Okmok dominates the island at the point the warm Pacific current meets the icy Arctic swell of the Bering Sea. This creates the perfect situation for massive hurricanes.
Mother Nature, she shows you everything she has in a matter of 20 minutes. This is where the weather starts.
Despite the harsh weather, the island is home to a variety of indigenous wildlife, dominated by a herd of 10,000 wild cattle.
Some of the best cattle country I've ever seen in my career.
This rich volcanic landscape is a breeding ground for the finest organic beef.
So the cattle have all the feed they need. Grass is on the slopes of the volcanoes, and the kelp floating in on the beaches in the wintertime.
The perfect location for America's most westerly mega ranch.
I came to this ranch back in '92. I just loved it, and that's what we wanted to do with our lives. Cattle were here, they were healthy, and we just bought the rights to them. There's 5,000 or 6,000 head here when we started. And that's a sizable operation no matter how you slice it. And I think the numbers are north of 10,000 head now.
These cattle, they're muscular, they're rugged, They can survive in this terrain. They can also be very aggressive.
Unused to human interaction, the barbaric beasts don't take kindly to interventions from Pat and his cowboys.
These cattle, they might charge you. Some of them are quite feral. They do get kind of rangy.
The large bulls, they would circle around and come right back at us. Then you'd have to jump up on the rails.
Cowboys want to stay outside that crowding tub because there's no place for a human to be.
Kind of feel your heart race a little bit.
The bulls can weigh up to 2,000 pounds.
Holy he's ripping the place apart.
Pat had to come up with new methods to muster thousands of aggressive cattle in a hostile landscape.
Had to figure out a way to handle them, so we started out with horses, but evolved to helicopters. The helicopter seems to work well on these feral cattle. They think it's their idea that they're coming in, when it's really you.
He can manage the cattle. He knows everything about the cattle. He can fly a helicopter. He is just a pure cowboy.
He's picked up another 20 head up there on the hill. Look at this is how it's done.
But after 30 years of hard ranching, Pat and Connie have made a big decision. This summer may be their final journey to the island.
Been a real labor of love. You get one trip on this earth, and I wouldn't trade this one for anything. Unfortunately, in life, you have to admit your mortality and move on.
Life has told Pat Harvey that the time has come to hand this operation over.
Pat and Connie are selling the ranch. They spend their winters on the mainland and many of their summers back on the island. Now, they have to travel 2,000 miles from Canada to check it's in good condition for a buyer.
We've got some interest in the ranch and one prospective buyer now. So I thought it was an ideal opportunity to go out, get a feel for what the cattle are like, how they're distributed, how many there are. I wish I had another 40 years so I could do it again. I guess if we do a deal on this place, it gives us some money to clear up our debts, which will be lovely.
It's a multi-million-dollar ranch. And the man who keeps the whole place running is Pat and Connie's long-term friend, Dean.
I've been working on the island since 93, 94. I like it out here, but this is the end of the road. I will miss it.
The journey is a 10-hour boat ride from Dutch Harbor across the Bering Sea, only possible during the summer months.
Welcome back to Umnak. It looks nice and flat at the dock anyway.
The only landing spot on Umnak is a makeshift dock left over from World War II.
It's a rock cliff face that we have to tie up to. It's not a regular dock. Rocks sticking out and stuff. We have to have lots of big buoys to fender us off so we don't let the boat touch the rocks.
When the seas are rough, then it's problematic. We've had it before where we can't get in after sailing the whole way. Had to sail away. So upset.
So you'll probably be the one to jump off, and then we will pass you those lines.
Okay. I'll be the stern line ready.
The Miss Alyssa is the main link between the Aleutian Islands and civilization.
So get right down here.
Any damage, and the boat could be out of service for months.
Right to this corner?
Onto there, but I need to, I'll wait till he comes around. Pat always makes sure that he gets me on shore safely.
Step on that tire, you'll be good. Okay, and then go over to here. I got you.
And I trust him with my life, or I wouldn't have taken on this life.
It feels good to be on solid land.
Home, Connie and Pat. Yeah.
Now, Pat and Connie have to unload all the supplies essential for life on the ranch.
So you've got to bring in everything that you need.
So we'll endeavor to offload everything before we lose the light.
We've probably got half an hour, something like that.
This one's really heavy.
The unloading process draws the attention of some Umnak residents.
Well, there's 3 bulls on the hill watching us. As you know, the bulls are feral, so you can't trust them at all.
The ranch is 3 miles away from the dock, uphill, across rough country, and as the Miss Alyssa leaves, the bulls are already dangerously close.
Thanks, Jimmer.
Yeah. Good night. See you guys.
We think we've got a four-wheeler and a container just up here. We'll get it going and transport all of us 3 miles up to the ranch, help buildings. And trying not to get close to those bulls out there.
The dockside container is supposed to hold an ATV for situations just like this one.
These are bolted shut.
But Dean gets an unpleasant surprise.
And it's not there.
Not there. Well, I guess we gotta walk.
Oh, it looks like we're walking the 3 miles. Still got a bit of light. Once we get stationed in the ranch house,
I can relax.
With no mechanical help, Pat has to go face to face with the 2,000-pound bulls. Charlie Somerville has 1 month to complete construction of his new wildlife lodge before the tourist season begins. The construction site at Volcano Bay is 25 miles away across open ocean. After many months out of action for the winter, Charlie's boat, the Grady White, needs a checkup before it can start carrying cargo.
Everything's a little hard up here, sitting all winter. You know, they've been really good, dependable motors. We'll see what happens here.
The boat is the linchpin of Charlie's business, but the checkup reveals an unpleasant surprise.
Okay, just give her a little turnover. All clear? Yeah. Whoa! Whoa, 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 what the was that? Something ain't right. I don't know what is going on here. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
With an engine down, the Grady White is out of action, and the nearest mechanic is 900 miles away.
We're gonna have to get the tool set and start ripping this thing apart. That's all we can do.
Lodge construction has to go on hold while Charlie handles his boat problems.
It wasn't even on the radar is going to be an issue of worrying about us blowing up a motor that had ran perfectly for 4 years, that had been meticulously maintained.
Dead calm today. We should have this boat in the water going. We would have been ready.
Every hour brings the start of the tourist season closer.
I've never failed in a project that we've wanted. I'm not saying that I haven't had some unsuccessful things happen or some bad luck happen.
Getting a new engine on a slow barge from Seattle will cost Charlie time he doesn't have, and bringing one in by air freight would be an eye-watering $10,000 on top of the $15,000 purchase price.
This is a major setback, man. I am so bummed. The boat is our lifeline. This boat, the Grady White, is what we run. It's, you know, a safe offshore boat. This is what we run, you know, 25 miles out to Volcano Bay every day, hauling the freight, hauling the supplies, doing the fishing, hauling the fuel. And this could definitely put us back a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on what the final outcome is.
Charlie has another problem. His cabin design calls for 15 tons of building materials, and right now he's missing almost half of that, the vital lumber for the cabin roof and camp kitchen.
Getting supplies out here, getting building materials, getting food, everything is a nightmare.
There's no local supplier in Cold Bay, and the nearest branch of Home Depot is hundreds of miles away.
That's the problem when you live in the middle of nowhere. I mean, 600 miles from the nearest town or road, and I mean, everything looks comfortable and nice when you're sitting in the house, but when you walk outside and there's brown bears walking through the yard and there's volcanoes around you and ocean and 30 or 40 people in the whole town with no help, not even a hardware store, it'll separate the men from the boys. We're going to the Cold Bay hardware store.
In Cold Bay, hardware store means something a little different. To the locals, the dump is a resource that can save them thousands of dollars.
We've got to build a little temporary cook shelter, and we found a nice roof over here that's going to go, that we found. Plywood out here, 5/8 plywood is $100 a sheet at the store. This has been recycled. It's got some old ladders or something, but it'll make a nice stiff roof, and you're going to see this going into our cooking shelter. Like I said, you got to make things work out here in the bush.
Yep, I got it. Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Probably $500 for a roll of this.
The bonanza of free building materials has saved Charlie over $1,000. But without a boat, the supplies are going nowhere. Charlie's only option is to charter a ride.
Hello, Bill.
With the start of the tourist season getting closer, Charlie tries to call in some favors.
There's so many fish up in the bay right now. They're scrambling for tenders.
Okay, thank you very much, Bill.
Okay, Charlie. You bet.
Yeah, bye-bye. Hopefully somebody will give me a call back. But we have deadlines, we have schedules, we have guests coming, and they want to go on their adventure, and they don't want to hear about a boat motor broken. They don't want to hear about the cabin not finished. Everything's going to go to crap, and we're going to get way behind our time frame, and then it's going to be so much pressure. It's not the normal world. They can't teach you this in Harvard Business School.
After a long search, he's still coming up empty. His dream of a new wilderness cabin is on the rocks. But the daily passenger flight from Anchorage brings Charlie a much-needed boost.
Hopefully all the luggage made it, all the people made it.
Daughter Steph has brought his 3-year-old granddaughter from Seattle. And ace carpenter Brent Wittenberger brings the skills Charlie needs to kickstart construction.
Thanks for coming down.
All right.
Did you get some fish yesterday?
No, I tried. I really tried.
Brent goes by the nickname Wit. This job will be his first time working in the Aleutians.
I think there's going to be some challenges. It's going to be really weather dependent. We're going to have some days that are probably not very much fun.
Okay, everything accounted for?
But I think it's going to go pretty well. I obviously never worked with Charlie. I've only been here as a client before. And I don't know the person I'm working with or going to be working with. But I would say that as challenging as a person I can be, sometimes I can still usually get along with most people. So I'll figure it out.
Wit's arrival won't help unless Charlie can get him and the construction materials to Volcano Bay. After 2 days, Charlie finally gets a boat skipper on the phone.
Okay.
The captain can squeeze the job in.
Okay, thank you. If you guys want to just start loading to make it easier when the high tide is.
Wit and Dan have a 10-hour deadline to get 30,000 pounds of cargo loaded up and towed to the dock, or Charlie misses his chance of a charter.
He's a typical Alaskan captain. I talked to him on the phone. He came in with his fishing boat, and I asked if I could charter him.
The boat should be big enough to carry all of Charlie's materials over to Volcano Bay in a single journey.
Right.
But only part of his cargo is ready, and only a few hours remain to prep the rest.
We are on a serious deadline.
Charlie has to weatherproof all the lumber before the sea journey, or damage from the salt water will make it useless for construction.
There'll be a little whine in the next couple days. You wait and see. I'm a taskmaster. I've broken many a man.
High tide is just hours away, and Whit and Charlie can't agree on how to load the trailer.
We have to get this stuff separated and loaded. Today's the day. So whether rain or shine, I guess.
Bundled together, the wood forms heavy blocks that are hard to handle, but splitting them up worries Charlie.
And there's gonna be here, there.
So that's my point, is we'll be loading up all of this together when we get to the beach. I mean, we can do it again. We can do it separately.
I'm not saying to redo it. It's the only way you're gonna keep track of this.
Yeah.
So that I can visibly walk out here in the final before this goes, and I can count and look and see exactly what we have.
Whit has to get used to a new way of working.
When I arrived here, I could tell that things were very chaotic. I think there was a lot of plans up in the air. I think that people didn't know, because none of us had worked together in the past. Things were organized in Charlie's way.
As they finish loading, Charlie gets an update from the fishing boat captain.
He's at Delta Point, which is like 20 minutes out. He's like, I don't know if the crane's gonna lift it down or not. If it's too...
What now? Well, we'll just go down there and see what he has.
Well, that's why I said we'll know after the first swing. If I don't know, it's gonna be interesting.
We'll find out.
It's 6 p.m. when Charlie and the team arrive at the Cold Bay docks. They have just a few hours to load all 15 tons of building materials onto Melvin's boat before darkness falls. And the Aleutian-style loading equipment is a major concern for Whit.
We got an end loader. We don't have a crane. I've never seen anything like this in my life. Those are for digging holes, not like hanging it over the side of a dock and lowering it into a boat.
This will be Charlie's first time operating the backhoe, and he'll be doing it on the edge of a slippery dock with a 40-foot drop to the ocean. The boat's aging loading equipment makes the job even harder.
When I realized that we didn't have a hydraulic crane and we had the old pulley and boom system, I felt like I wanted to punch myself in the face. I was deeply disappointed, to say the least.
Worst case scenario, we lose everything, we sink the boat, and then that thing flips over into the water. That's all possible.
With each minute, the sea level gets lower, and the cargo has to be lowered further to the boat. But Charlie isn't fazed.
We don't have problems out here, we just have minor setbacks. A problem is something you can't solve, and we can solve anything out here. It's just human ingenuity and brain power, and or brute force and ignorance, as we call it sometimes. So it ain't always pretty, but we get it done.
Charlie lines up to load the heaviest stacks of wood, but the backhoe has massive blind spots. He has to rely on the team to guide him and stop him plunging into the sea.
Hey, you guys gotta keep away, because he can't see everywhere. Just have a heads up. And if you see something bad, yell at me.
It had been raining, the dock was slippery. I had a piece of equipment that I wasn't that familiar with, even though I have run heavy equipment before quite extensively.
Am I clear?
What do you think? You're clear of the dock right now. Start tipping them, Charlie. Start tipping back. It's going good. We'll tell you to stop.
How far am I from the deck?
If he could go forward just a little bit more.
I wouldn't go any further than that.
Charlie is just inches from the edge of the dock. The closer he is, the closer he can get the load to Melvin's boat. But he runs the risk of being dragged off balance and crashing onto the boat's deck.
Hey, wait!
Tip him up, tip him up. We had to figure out a way to lower that end loader down so that it had enough tension on the crane so it wasn't just dropping.
Well, no, if it snaps and it crashes down there, it's gonna kill somebody.
You gotta be careful not to pull him off the dock. You want him to back up a little bit? Just back up a tad.
We need that to be higher up. It's gonna swing, guys.
Stop, everybody stop. Stop! Stop.
The 2,000-pound load is too much for the boat's loading crane. If Charlie can't come up with a solution, his dream of a new wilderness lodge dies at the Cold Bay docks. Pat and Connie Harvey arrived on Umnak Island late last night. They faced a 3-mile hike to the ranch, but barring the way were a group of 2,000-pound bulls.
I asked Pat to chase the bulls off of the road there so we could get by. He's more aggressive with them, more assertive. There you go, see?
All you gotta do is be able to run faster than me.
Next morning, as dawn breaks over Umnak, Pat and Connie get their first view of the ranch for almost a year.
He's a beautiful horse.
He is a beautiful animal. So you've named him Trigger. Roy Rogers.
Figured that'd be a good name.
Oh, Jesus.
After 30 years of cowboy life, they're preparing the multi-million-dollar ranch for sale.
This has been a real interesting life. It's been awesome.
This may be the couple's final visit to the island.
We decided to come back to make sure that everything is working properly, everything is maintained in order to sell the ranch.
With prospective buyers on the horizon, it's vital that everything at the ranch is fully operational. But 16 hours after arrival, the taps stop running. Ranch Supervisor Dean investigates.
Mysterious.
We should have water here. We're gonna have to check outside.
The water comes from a feed at the top of a nearby valley. Pat's system funnels fresh spring water down 3 miles of pipe to the master valve, which feeds the ranch house and the outbuildings.
Evidently, water comes from holes, and I'm going in the hole to get some water.
Dean drew a blank investigating the bathroom plumbing, so now he's searching outside for the source of the problem.
Seized up?
Oh.
As the ranch owner, Pat gets to keep his hands clean.
Please be the one. Please don't have no more problems. Okay. All 3 valves that I see are open.
Okay.
It's open. Both the valves down here.
So you just open that there?
That's pretty good.
Well, you got tons of pressure there. Then we've got another leak somewhere.
If water's flowing through the master valve, it can only mean there's a leak somewhere in the house. But when Connie starts searching for it, she gets another nasty surprise.
Lights went out.
What'd you say, Dean?
There's no power here.
We'll fix that right now while we don't have water.
The diesel-fueled generator, the only source of power on the island, has gone down. Electricity is a matter of life and death on the island, and as usual, it's up to Dean to fix it.
That light okay, Dean? What are you thinking?
Cut that thing off.
The generator has overheated and damaged the fan belt.
That's what's left of the belt.
You got more belts somewhere?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna look in the parts room real quick.
You can't run this operation without somebody that knows what to do to get the power equipment working. And Dean, he does all the things that need to be done.
So we're looking for a belt.
Go downstairs and see if we can check that out. You don't realize what you're missing until you don't have it.
Pat really relies on Dean as a helper, but it doesn't matter whether it's water, sewer, power.
These are helicopter parts over here.
Has anybody got a toothpick? Dean knows where it is.
So we have a possible belt right here.
Oh, you got one there? Oh, it took a boat out.
So let's
How did
kind
you
of go
find that? You were
there.
good at that, Dean.
Some of the things I just had to do. Otherwise, it just wouldn't happen. See, Connie, this is the old belt, and it should look very similar to this one.
Oh, jeez.
Dean identifies a replacement part and the source of the problem.
And then we hooked up both the electric dryers. It overheated this. It's exhausting.
Okay, that makes sense, totally. You know, it takes a special person to make sure that things are running smoothly. Dean, do you want me to unplug those dryers before you try this?
Yes, unplug both.
Okay, will do. Dean knows everything about what needs to be done. Yep. That's what you need to have.
While Connie deals with the offending dryers, the boys get to fitting the fan belt.
So I'm gonna put some tension on it.
Light person?
Sure.
Okay, she's in the crank.
Okay.
She's on the water pump.
It's on the water pump.
No, she's good.
This one appears to be a little short.
The only compatible belt in Dean's supplies was designed for a smaller engine.
Almost the right length.
Shorter, for sure. Whatever we have is what we have. Get all the play out of this alternator we can.
The mounting plate of the alternator is movable. If Dean can change its position, the new belt might just fit.
Still on everywhere else?
Get this alternator just a little closer. Okay, really.
Oh my God.
It'd be pretty tight.
It would loosen a little bit with running and stretch, would it? It's a good stout belt. Like it's stouter than what we had in there, I think. It actually looks pretty good.
You know, it doesn't feel all too tight either right now. No.
They won't know whether the new belt can take the strain until the generator fires up.
I need a flashlight over here. I need a wire strip here. Hopefully it will start.
I'm on.
Okay.
Let there be light.
Power on. The team's attention can turn back to getting the rest of the ranch ready for sale.
That's off to the next project.
We had water at the house, now we don't.
The mystery of the leak still unsolved, Dean is back on his hands and knees.
Process of elimination, try and figure out where the problem is. There might be something at the end of the pantry here.
Leak is somewhere around in here. The leak is
back under the...
Probably a foot from the wall.
The search narrows down the suspect area to a single room.
The floor joist is right here, and the leak is somewhere right around in here.
Okay.
The ranch house, it is not in good shape. Floors badly damaged.
The damage from the leak is bad. Water has rotted the kitchen floor.
So we may as well cut that all out, eh?
We need to cut all the way to the wall anyways.
Another job for Dean, but this time Pat's getting his hands dirty too.
Got a bunch of repairs to make here, but I guess that's just the way it is, especially in this environment.
Take a look at it. That's one of those old-time tees. They surely don't make those anymore.
This isn't your average ranch. This is a long ways out in the middle of nowhere. When you're confronted with a situation or to have to improvise.
Using scraps from the island, Dean fashions his own plumbing fixture.
There's no store around here. The last store we were at is in Dutch Harbor. It's not one thing around here, it's the other. So let's go see if all this will make it work.
He's just a wonderful, gentle soul, trustworthy and diligent. He's just fantastic. We just love him. He's like family.
Fix that leak, so we should have water here. High five, man. We got to the place of the scene in front. That's right. Good work, you guys. Good work.
The ranch has power and water, but there's a whole lot more work to be done before Pat and Connie can hope to bag a multi-million-dollar sale. Charlie Somerville has 3 hours left before nightfall to load 30,000 pounds of building materials onto a boat at Cold Bay Dock with the wrong machinery.
Well, no, if it snaps and it crashes down there, it's going to kill somebody.
As he attempts to lower his lumber down a 40-foot drop.
Stop, everybody stop. Stop, stop.
I'm stop.
The boat's puny loading crane is struggling with the first load of lumber. As usual, Charlie has his own solution to the problem.
Ask him why we can't use that big block on top.
Hey, Melvin, Why can't we use that big block?
Because that's right over it. I don't trust that blue line. What about running that blue line over it? It just, that would be up higher.
What about running that blue line through the block?
Yeah, that's what you gotta do. It's a physics problem. If you have thousands of pounds of material and all of a sudden you drop them, that cable or whatever's holding it has to hold up the weight of it, plus the fact that it's accelerating down. So it's tens of thousands of pounds.
The plan is for Charlie to lower the forks until the rope from the boat's crane takes the strain of the load. But as the load gets lower, Charlie begins to lose control.
I hate him standing on that. Start tipping up until they got it.
That's gonna be close.
I start tipping yours down and then release. Yeah, go ahead then. Keep lowering, Charlie.
Whoa, what the f***'s going on here?
Stop.
Our wheels are off.
Yeah.
Okay, he's got to take some
You got to
tension.
start lowering, Charlie.
Lower your...
I did, and the wheel's coming up.
Hang on.
Hold up, hold up, hold up.
Can I back out and then just...
No, not yet. I'm trying to get him to have the weight.
Can he back out, do you think? Can he keep tipping his forks down?
With the backhoe's front tires off the dock, the vehicle is increasingly unstable.
You got to think about, like, I don't want to get hurt or killed or hurt someone else or have this pallet of plywood go crashing through this boat. Oh, you got to let go. You got him held.
You got to start dropping of it.
The boat's skipper lowers the lifting block to get Charlie's wheels back on the dock.
There you go. It's just jammed in those forks now. It's off. He got it now. He's got it. Well, that was easy.
The first stack of building materials is down, but there are still 4 more to go, and low tide is fast approaching.
I feel like Alaska people just get the job done and they figure it out. Granted, sometimes I don't think it has to be as hard as it has been here, but I can say this about Charlie is that if it's gonna happen, whether it makes sense or not, he's gonna try to get it done. And I think most times he probably does.
Even with the heavy loads down, the job isn't done yet.
It's okay, it's good. It's good, just don't fall. Yeah, I know.
Can I have a ride later on that thing?
I didn't want to get anybody hurt. And we pushed it as hard as we could to get it done in the safest manner that we could with what we had to work with. Some people probably wouldn't have done it, but you know what? Some people aren't sitting in the Aleutians with their whole livelihood at stake with people showing up in a month.
I think we got to load more equipment in our personal gear, get some good food in our belly, and get excited for tomorrow.
Good job, Dan.
Yep.
Good job,
Mike. No one got hurt. Well done. Well done.
Did it.
Yep. We got it done and no one got hurt. Woo! Great day, Kobe!
At the end of a grueling 15-hour day, Charlie's team can finally relax. Tomorrow's journey to Volcano Bay is 25 miles across open ocean, where they have to unload 30,000 pounds of gear on a remote beach with no dock and no equipment. Business as usual, living life on the edge.
You got to make things work out here in the bush.
600 miles from Anchorage, in the heart of the Aleutian Islands, is the small town of Cold Bay. Here, Charlie Somerville runs his business as a wilderness guide. His latest project is to build a new lodge in Volcano Bay, 25 miles across the sea. With most of the equipment and building materials loaded onto a charter boat, Charlie and the team are ready to set sail.
Well done. Well done.
But there's one last vital piece of equipment he still needs to load. A brand new $9,000 four-wheeler, the only vehicle going to the construction site.
I gotta slowly. Okay, hold that from coming in a minute.
I'm holding the brake.
The whole project depends on it for transporting heavy building materials and tools. But first, they have to get it onto the boat.
Let me help you. Hold on a second.
The four-wheeler has to be loaded onto a 22-foot skiff by hand.
Okay, she's loose. Wait a second. Okay, perfect. See? Look at that, like it was made.
Nice work, boys.
The four-wheeler is on board, but the journey gets off to a bad start.
Now we flooded it. Here, just I'll go get my skiff and come. Here.
The skiff's 50-horsepower engine won't start, and the four-wheeler is going nowhere.
Here, we'll just...
But Aleutian Islanders don't stop for stuff like a cranky engine, and the skiff heads out to tie up with the fishing boat that'll tow it to Volcano Bay.
Loving life, baby.
Charlie's wife, Helen, is staying at home in Cold Bay to run the business while Charlie's away.
And take care of Samantha.
I will.
Let my baby.
Yeah. See you in a few days.
Okay. Love you.
Love you.
Call me if you need any more supplies.
Yep.
Charlie and his team are finally on their way out of Cold Bay and into the wilderness.
We're about to get a big slap in the face of reality when we land on that beach and this boat pulls away. We're starting from scratch. We have literally nothing. We're gonna land on a beach and there's nothing there. Sometimes there's just that wild card that you just don't know what's gonna happen.
It's a year since Charlie last saw the construction site. Sea storms and volcanic activity can change the landscape here overnight. The team has no idea what's waiting for them at Volcano Bay.
We're gonna have a lot of work when we get to Volcano Bay. As you can see what's on this boat, a lot of work to unload and get camp set up before dark. I don't know what Melvin has in store, I don't know what his time schedule is, but we've got to work until we get it off the boat because he may have to go somewhere to start fishing or do another job.
Charlie and his team will be alone, with nothing but the equipment and supplies they carried with them.
As tough as yesterday was, there's a good chance that today's going to be even tougher. That's part of Alaska, and that's part of an experience like this is you just got to roll with it. We're going to just lean into it, get after it, and set up camp tonight, and make sure everything's set for the bear fence, and get all the gear where we want it to be, and get ready to roll. And we'll be building by tomorrow.
After 3 hours at sea, the team gets their first look at their destination, and the locals are out to greet them.
Wow, look at them.
The brown bear can reach up to 1,200 pounds in weight. It's Alaska's top predator.
Alaska's definitely bear country. I mean, I'm gonna have points where I'm gonna freak out. This is definitely gonna push everyone to their limits.
We got the big hardware with us today. Broke out the guns, the 45-70. Now that's a bear gun, folks, because you just never know what you're gonna have. All stainless so you don't get rusted up. Things go bad, we're ready. When you live with the beast, you gotta be able to tame the beast.
There's 15 to 20 bears that live in Volcano Bay year-round. Those bears are completely wild. They have not been habituated to people. They have not seen people.
The first challenge is getting ashore safely.
I tried to explain to Melvin that I'd been in and out of there numerous times and I should go in first with my skiff.
At low tide, only a narrow channel allows access to the beach where Charlie wants to land the equipment.
You gotta wait till a little bit more water, because I don't know, I don't think it's ready yet.
Even for Charlie, these are dangerous waters.
I'm pretty sure. Whoa! Easy. Switch it, that's what, turn it in. Rogue wave!
The incoming tide hits an underwater sandbank, creating an unexpected wave which almost throws Charlie and Dan from the boat.
Got a big one coming in on you, Charlie. We got 2 of them breaking. No, they're fine. We're good now. We're on the inside of them.
Charlie regains control of his boat, but the crew in the other skiff have no idea of the danger lurking beneath the waves.
We were excited, the adrenaline going, we wanted to get in there, and I didn't have my handheld radio to call back to the boat to hold him off.
I need to tell him not to come in because he's not ready.
A quarter of a mile out to sea, the second skiff is dead in the water. The temperamental motor could be a massive problem, but right now it's buying time for Charlie to get a warning through.
Tell him, no, do not come in yet. He needs full high tide. Tell him, no, 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 no.
The other boat hasn't got the message.
It's on.
And the engine comes back to life.
Woo! The tide was ripping in, the motor keeps dying, and the boat turns sideways, so we have a lot of weight in there. Water starts crashing in, the boat's getting lower and lower.
The 700-pound four-wheeler is inches away from getting swamped. Without it, the whole build project falls to pieces.
Shoot the gun to get his attention.
At that point, my heart fell into my stomach and I felt failure. I'm like, something bad is gonna happen.
At one point, I'm shoveling water out and the rail is maybe an inch from being totally submerged.
Emergency bailing barely keeps the skiff afloat, and it has to retreat from the dangerous waves half a mile from dry land.
I looked out and I saw our other boat in the surf, and I saw a $9,000 four-wheeler that's a week old nearly going into the water. At that point, no matter how hard you try or what you want, I physically wouldn't have been able to continue.
That was my introduction to getting to Volcano Bay. Because at this point, I'd already realized from loading the dock that I'm in some pretty interesting times here. This was an extreme interesting challenge.
After months of planning and 2 weeks of delays, Charlie finally sets foot on Volcano Bay Beach.
All right.
And it looks like some of the locals got here first.
Yeah, they're huge. How high you want me to go, Charlie? Just up to the grass. That's where the tide will come. Yeah, right in there is fine.
The bear prints are a sign that getting onto dry land isn't the end of Charlie's troubles.
I was not getting the warm, fuzzy feeling and the calm and peace, serenity that I'd hoped. It did not go ideal. If something goes bad, I'm the big loser.
It's 4 p.m. The sun sets in just a few hours, and the team has nowhere to sleep tonight.
I need to get my head together. First thing, we got a priority. We've got to get a safe camp. It's a daunting task. You know, the weather's changing all the time, and now the wind's starting to pick up. So yeah, we got to get going and get this camp set up, or we're going to have a problem.
On the edge of the Aleutian chain is the remote island of Umnak. In the shadow of an active volcano, Pat and Connie Harvey are preparing to sell their multi-million-dollar ranch.
We just love the challenge, the remoteness of the ranch, the rugged beauty of it.
The island is home to 10,000 cattle, running wild across the plains.
Probably some of the best cattle country I've ever seen in my career.
The first cattle were brought to the islands by the Russians when the Aleutians were in Russian hands. In 1867, when the United States bought Alaska, they inherited the breeds, and they've remained roaming wild across the islands ever since. Years of isolation in the extreme terrain has bred these cattle into brutal beasts.
Jesus!
These cattle are wild animals.
Yeah, they're wild and woolly, these bulls, but they can be managed.
After 30 years of wild wrangling, Pat Harvey is hanging up his spurs.
We had a prospective buyer expressing interest now, so I thought it was an ideal opportunity to come out to sort of prepare everything for the sale.
Pat needs to make sure everything on the ranch is in working order to impress his prospective buyers.
I feel like we've brought it leaps and bounds from where we started, not through just my efforts, but everybody involved.
He's put his life into this ranch. For him, this is a legacy that's important.
I'm a little embarrassed about the condition of our equipment. Oh. You can see this gate's rusted on the hinge up there. So you're constantly buying extra gates and redoing things.
Over 30 years, Pat has spent millions to improve the quality of the ranch.
All these 2W Uruguayan galvanized panels, they haven't deteriorated one bit since I put them in. They're still working quite nicely. I've been sitting 6 years with no use and they seem fine. It's actually better to leave them unlatched because then the wind moves them from time to time, keeps the hinge working. If you're gonna run a viable operation here, you need good workable equipment and keep it that way. Looks like I gotta dig out that door, but the gates all work.
These fences are able to withstand the might of a 3,000-pound bull, and they've held back thousands of cattle, keeping the cowboys out of harm's way. However, when they really need to lock down a rampaging bull, they use a machine called a hydraulic squeeze.
This hydraulic squeeze does whatever you need to restrain them, and it's very safe for the operator.
This machine holds the animal in a super tight grip for the dangerous task of making the animal's horns safe for transport.
The law they have when you send animals for the sea, when we tip their horns, and that way they don't stick their horns in the other animals that are in the same pen, rib and bruise the meat and hurt each other on the voyage.
Transporting the animals is one of the biggest challenges of running a ranch in such a remote location. It's caused expensive problems for Pat in the past.
We shipped a bunch of live cattle when we got all these bulls ready and we tipped their horns. We did that, and unfortunately we didn't get the cattle marketed because we ran into troubles getting them across the U.S. border. We were trying to get them into the U.S., but it defies the Jones Act that states that you can only bring livestock or any commodity between two U.S. ports with a U.S.-built hull. And because there's no American ship fit our budget, this Danish ship is one of the only options right now.
The Jones Act stipulates that only U.S.-registered and crewed ships can carry goods between U.S. ports. The law was designed to support the U.S. shipping business, but it prevented Pat landing an expensive cargo of cattle.
It was a disaster, still putting me in quite a bit of debt. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I was going out of business.
Pat is very careful about money, and it was hard for him.
The whole point behind this ranch is it's a beautiful environment. The cattle are here, they're healthy, they get water and feed, but at some point you have to profit. You have to turn those animals out walking around into a form that they can go on the dinner plate. And so that's what the slaughterhouse is all about.
To avoid the problems of transporting live cattle, Pat invested $3 million into equipping a slaughterhouse, bringing meat processing to the island. His abattoir fed right into a team of butchers, meaning he can now afford to transport his meat direct to the U.S. market.
We could get the beef frozen to Seattle for 21 cents a pound. That's not very much money out of the value of the whole animal that you're selling. Puts you on a level playing field with the rest of North America.
And there is a beautiful Bering Pacific T-bone steak.
The slaughterhouse, with its multi-million-dollar equipment, will be a main selling point when it comes to the sale of the mega ranch.
We've got a bunch of really nice equipment here. Over there is the knock box. And then you have way up in the ceiling there, the hide puller takes the hide off the carcass. Around the corner, this is a splitting saw that splits it into two halves. And we have the hooks and the rollers that you hang the animals on. So they have to be all free of rust and clean. Well, out here we have a bandsaw, so we can start breaking the meat down into the various primal cuts. That's just a holding cooler for something that doesn't quite get finished in one work day. Things aren't right up to clean standard right now, but everything seems to work quite well.
Beefed out with this equipment, the facility has everything it needs in prime condition for Pat's new buyer to cut straight to work.
For its initial production, and the inspector came up from Washington, and he was just about ready to retire, and he said this is one of the best plants he'd ever inspected in his whole career. When you have a good crew and all your equipment works, this place works like a charm.
The slaughterhouse passes inspection, but Supervisor Dean brings bad news from the ranch house.
Hello. How you making out?
We have a water problem.
It's less than 24 hours since they tore up the floors to find a water leak, and now the taps are running dry again.
Down to my last pair of socks and underwear.
Alaska is the most remote state in America. Over 80% of the communities here are not connected to a highway. In this pristine land of fire and ice, almost everyone relies on highly polluting fuels like gas and diesel. The sustainable energy revolution hasn't made much headway this far north. Engineer Marek Jakinski is going to change all that. He's bringing river power to remote communities across Alaska. From his base in Anchorage, Marek is flying 245 miles southwest to Igiugig.
All right, thanks. Yeah, Igiugig is a neat town. They're a little more progressive than some other villages in Alaska, maybe if they're adoptants of renewables and things like that.
On the south bank of the Kvichak River, Igiugig has a population of 68, consisting mainly of the Yupik, Aleuts, and Athabaskan Indians. The leader of the tribal council in Igiugig is Alexana Salmon.
Igiugig is my home. It's the safest, most welcoming place to raise my children. Igiugig has always had very, very strong cultural and environmental values. If you look at these riverbanks here, our people have lived here for over 8,000 years continuously. And we've survived off of our salmon and our caribou species, and you cannot see a footprint for 8,000 years of inhabitation here on this river. And this river has provided everything that we've needed as far as food, water, and security, and energy, basically. So it just makes sense in 2022 that we're using it to harness energy to power the community. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is epic.
Martha Crow is third-generation Yupik and was born and raised in Igiugig. After spending time as a reindeer herder, she is now one of the village teachers.
We have such a spiritual, holistic approach to the land with the creatures that are in the land, creatures that feed us, like moose and caribou, salmon. This whole area, it owns our soul. We don't own it. It owns us.
Alexana's younger brother, John Salmon, is a commercial fisherman by trade and also a prominent member of the village council.
You, as a small community, end up relying on each other. That kind of brings you closer. It's a spiritual freedom to be able to go out and acquire food off the land. It is healthy for your soul. And the food is good too.
Until 2014, Igiugig was 100% reliant on dirty and expensive diesel.
Diesel itself is an environmental hazard, especially to waterways, right? Because fuel gets in water and it can go very far. We could drop fuel in the water here Down the river it goes. Next thing you know, we have 12 miles of contaminated shoreline.
But now, a third of all the power in the village is provided by this. It's called the RivGen, an underwater turbine propelled by the fast-flowing river. As it turns, it powers a generator linked to the local grid.
ENDEVR project started in 2014. The project harnesses some of the power from the river to produce electricity for the village as a way to kind of reduce their dependency on diesel. This is our shore station. Further out on the river, you see there's 2 buoys out there and a couple signs. So our system is actually underwater on the river there. And we have cabling that runs underground all the way from the island up here to the Connex. And this has all of our powered electronics inside of it. So we're just opening this up. I'm gonna check some of the onboard systems really quick and make sure everything's good to go there.
To make sure the RivGen survives a harsh Alaskan winter, it needs an annual service. To carry it out, Merrick will have to raise the machine from the riverbed. If he fails, ENDEVR could be forced back to being solely reliant on diesel.
There's an enormous amount of pressure to get systems, especially systems that are underwater, ready to go, operational, so that they're ready for their wintertime. Once we're done out there, this device is going through the winter by itself, and it needs to be in tip-top shape to make it through that. Winter in Alaska is pretty brutal, and it's pretty brutal underwater also.
Charlie Somerville and his team have finally arrived in Volcano Bay. The next task is to unload all the materials to build Charlie's new wilderness lodge. Having nearly lost the brand new 4-wheeler overboard, it's now put to use, carrying the camp supplies that will keep the team safe while they work.
I saw nothing but footprints of bears and wolves. Everything happens in the dark. You see the bears and the wolves sticking their face right up near the trails and the camps. You know, we call these little creepers at night.
With the coming of high tide, the fishing boat can at last navigate the tricky route into Volcano Bay.
That's a very complicated challenge to get into.
And with the rest of their camp supplies unloaded, the team can get to work, setting up for the night, before the weather and the wildlife close in.
We couldn't survive out here without our modern stuff. And we're obviously sleeping with guns and with
sleeping bags,
and we have protection, and we have
Gore-Tex. Well, day 1 of many to come. Good night.
Good night.
In just 3 weeks, Charlie Somerville welcomes his first guests of the Aleutian tourist season. But right now, the new wilderness lodge that's supposed to house them is a pile of wood on a muddy beach.
You can't slog through that.
And the morning low tide means the boat carrying the rest of the building materials has run aground.
It's really low. We've got a really low tide, minus tide actually this morning. So our boat's 50 feet from the water, and we're not walking through the mud. If you start carrying stuff through the mud, people are going to get hurt.
A fall in thick, slippery mud could easily twist an ankle or even break a leg, and a serious injury would end the build before it's begun. Charlie has no choice but to wait for high tide.
We've got a morning wait here, 3, 4 hours, 5 hours until this afternoon. I don't think our tide starts coming in until about 3 this afternoon. So if that's the case, we've got a long day. We're gonna probably start working on the kitchen and our outhouses because we gotta do something.
To make use of the dead time, Charlie begins building a camp kitchen with Chief Carpenter Witt.
So the next project, trying to get our kitchen closed in, getting a little cooking area set up. So it's crunch time, and we got to get the eating area and just to be able to have some place to sit and relax and get out of the weather no matter what happens. So.
For Witt, a carpenter with 20 years experience, a basic shelter is a simple job.
But you don't even have to slope up, just a very little.
I just want to start with, all right.
But Charlie has his own ideas about how things should be done.
We're not putting temporary, we just put 2 4 corners and save the effort. Go right at the top.
We'll do something really similar with that. We'll put a 2x4 across and just do a seam down the middle of them then, so we don't have to worry about that.
I asked you guys a question.
I didn't have nothing to do with it. Well, no, but we gotta have a corner hole. That ain't a corner. No, it ain't. You laugh. You have not seen a whole camp be destroyed. I have.
Most important screw of the day right here. Tell me what you think.
Up a little bit.
If I'd have put it down, you would have stood up. If I'd have put it up, you would have stood down. If I'd have twisted it, you said untwisted.
I don't care.
Charlie and Whit set their differences aside long enough to get the kitchen built. And by the time they're done, the tide is high enough to unload. High tide raises the water level by 6 feet.
It's getting too deep out there now.
But in 5 hours, it'll be low enough to beach the fishing boat again, and the skipper has to leave by close of day.
So what we got going here is we're trying to reposition the boat to get a little bit closer so we can keep unloading, just slide it right onto the boat, get it off here. We've got about a 4-hour window to get on this boat unloaded today. And there's no manual on this. He's gonna have to move the boat in.
The only way to get the boat unloaded in time is to bring it closer to shore.
We can literally unload the whole frickin' thing and be done. We could have all that offloaded tonight. If you were just pulled in that deep channel right on that corner where I was, one time it'll be right there.
But it's still lodged on the sandbar.
We'll see if we can pull it up here real quick. All right.
First, Charlie and the team have to pull it free.
Stay in the channel and then we'll just pull we'll throw us your stern line, I'll pull your stern in. That's okay, it'll work perfect.
Take the skiff now.
We're fine right here. Okay. Can you let a little bit of anchor line out just so we float this way? Okay, that's fine.
Free of the sandbar, the boat can maneuver into a deep channel close to shore, and the offloading can get underway. It takes almost 4 hours to unload 30,000 pounds of building materials and supplies.
Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
With sunset just 3 hours away, the Melanie Sue has to set sail to reach fishing grounds in time to make a catch.
Thank you.
Charlie and his team are on their own with almost 1,000 pieces of heavy lumber. And the construction site for the Wilderness Lodge is half a mile away.
It's a game changer when you show up with 4 or 5 people and all this gear and huge dreams, and then you look at a mountain and you realize, oh, there's no road to get to where we need to be. I had to take a deep reality check. Where are we going, Charlie? What are we doing? What are we doing? I said, we're going to stop right here. I've got to figure something out.
The first major obstacle is a steep bank of sand. The four-wheeler struggles to climb the slope on its own.
It's still leaning pretty hard, that's what I was saying.
When a trailer's attached, it won't make it.
Oh, don't turn. Go back a little bit now. Still pretty soft.
Charlie's worried that the eroding sand will make the problem worse.
The grass helps us, the roots and the flowers.
So the main components of the build are going to be where we want to put the building. Can we get to that spot from this boat all the way to this unknown building site? We don't have a road.
We don't have bulldozers, we don't have backhoes, we didn't have equipment, so you have to work with what you have.
After decades of working in Alaska, Charlie's used to solving his own problems. An ordinary construction site would have an access road to get materials and workers where they need to be. He has to make his own road, and he figures out that he can do it with a roll of rusty fencing he salvaged from the Cold Bay dump.
This is just 10 times better. Like I said, anybody can drive up and down it now without worrying about flipping over and dying.
The metal grid gives the ATV grip and stops it from churning up the sand. For the rest of the day, the all-important vehicle runs constant relays, bringing the lumber 200 yards uphill to the build site. At the end of another long day, Charlie's feeling the pressure.
Some people think I'm out here on a big joyride and an adventure, just playtime, but this is not playtime. I mean, I'm an old beat up guy, been doing it, you know, bad knees, bad back. I've been battling my family to do it because it's put us under hardship and stress, but once it comes together, it's all gonna be worth it.
25 miles of ocean separates Charlie from home. It's going to be several days before he gets to sleep in his own bed.
You start out with a little project, like, oh, we'll just put up a little cabin for $10,000, $20,000. It sounds easy when you're sitting in Wisconsin or Kenai or something. This has been fighting me hard.
It's a place worth putting it all in for, Charlie. You can't get anything better than this.
In the small town of Igiugig, engineer Marek Jakinski gets ready for essential maintenance on the village's river turbine. His right-hand man for the job is Igiugig local John Salmon.
John kind of wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit. You can tell on his face when he's visibly frustrated with something and the progress that's happening. You guys ready?
Ready.
In Igiugig, our first attempt at getting the rib gen up was met with some pretty harsh realities.
Record rainfall in the last few weeks means the river is 26 feet deep. That's over 6 feet deeper than normal.
That building sits on a lawn when the water's low. When I was out here 2 weeks ago, that thing was on grass, and now it's underwater.
The swollen river makes this Marek's most difficult and dangerous retrieval to date.
We are working around pretty tight lines and some heavy-duty equipment. We need to be very mindful of where people are standing. You know, worst case scenario, I think, is if we have a man overboard or somebody gets hurt while we're working.
John carefully guides the boat toward the marker buoy.
Come forward a little bit, John.
The buoy is attached to a line that leads down to the RivGen turbine on the riverbed. Partway down the line are a set of air hoses. These feed directly into the two big blue pontoons either side of the turbine. Marek is trying to drag the air hoses to the surface.
We gotta pull a little more up, actually.
Had to brag about being the strong ones.
Yeah. Oh man. You wanna tie off your slack? I'll hold it. Tie on this front cleat here.
If he succeeds, he'll attach them to a compressor on board the boat. The water will then be blown out of the pontoons and filled with air, allowing the RivGen to float to the surface.
It's deep.
Stuck on the bottom?
What's that?
Is it stuck?
I don't know. It's pretty damn tight though.
I bet that fast water flow is sending pebbles rolling down the bottom of the river and they buried it.
With the high water levels and the current flowing at over 17,000 cubic feet per second, the line attached to the RivGen has become completely buried in rocks and gravel.
There's a chain that sometimes gets stuck in the gravel in the bottom of the river. I think we're pulling against that right now. We gotta figure something out here.
Why doesn't, let me try to tug on it a little bit.
Yeah, use the boat motor to help pull us out.
Marek and the team have hold of the line.
I can feel it popping up off the bottom. It's covered in rocks.
But now it's a balancing act of freeing the line from the gravel without sinking the boat.
We gotta be careful, because if the bow of that boat, the gunnel goes under the current, there's no coming back out.
As we were working on retrieving the RivGen, you know, there was a couple times when the hull of the boat tipped pretty close to the water.
As the crew struggle to keep the boat upright, they know that if the line breaks, they'll lose contact with the RivGen.
Oh yeah, get back in here.
Yeah. We're pretty close to the chain. I mean, that's only like a 30-foot line we put on it.
We're pretty close to going under is what we are. Well, that's as much as we're going to go into the water.
Did we get anything?
That didn't look like anything. I do like pulling from chain better. I don't like the idea of that line popping.
Man, it just goes tight so fast. Can you go upstream a little bit? We'll keep going until the line breaks. Hopefully it doesn't break.
Go ahead and tie that off.
Okay. I saw the chain.
You saw the chain, huh?
Yeah, it's about 3 feet down. Yeah, you're pretty close.
The pull brought the chain up, but also tugged the boat's hull down into the water.
We have so much water just hanging out now. Yeah, we gotta get this water out.
Yeah.
The river temperature is an icy 32 degrees, and if the skiff takes on any more water, it's going under. Merrick and John have no choice but to back off and hope the river gives them another chance. "600 miles southeast of Igiugig is Umnak Island, where ranch owners Pat and Connie Harvey are preparing their multi-million-dollar ranch for sale. Power and water are essential for survival in a remote location like Umnak Island. But cowboy Pat Harvey has just discovered his secluded ranch is without water.
Usually we have a drinkable, beautiful tasting spring water out of the hills right behind us, coming right out of the volcano. Absolutely important to have running water in the house, and we don't have it right now.
Less than a day ago, they discovered a leak in the ranch house.
That's one of those old-time teas. They surely don't make those anymore.
Supervisor Dean repaired the pipework,
Fix that leak, so we got water here.
but the taps are running dry again.
We have a spring up here about a half a mile where we just shoved a big 12-inch pipe into the bank where it was just gushing out. Dug a trench all the way to the house and slaughterhouse. That's our water supply. Well, we're going to go check here now and process of elimination, try and figure out where the problem is.
To find the source of the problem, Pat, Dean, and Connie have to follow the pipe uphill to an underground spring.
We should have just got some kind of a bag.
Okay, Dean. I think we're good to go, aren't we? Come on, you old mountain climber. We had no water in the past, but we're going to figure it out quite quickly, how to restore the flow and make it work. When you get a problem, you sort of have to improvise as you go, especially in this environment. See how that whole hillside on top of it?
A harsh winter has brought a landslide of mud and dirt, burying the spring.
You want to get up here and see if we can dig out some of that?
The team must first access the pipe to diagnose the problem.
Easy digging. See that one? You want to do it just with pipe wrench?
I think you're right about that.
I'll dig out some more. Might be onto something now, eh? Here, let me dig it out.
Here, I'll do some digging here.
Yeah, if we can just dig that out a bit, maybe it'll help.
The crew have found the relief valve, where a 12-inch funnel channels water into the main ranch supply.
Oh, there's hose clamps right here.
So we should be able to loosen them a bit. That comes out like coffee. There's crud in there, probably blocking our flow.
It looks like soil from the mudslide has entered the upper pipe section, causing a blockage that limits the flow.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of sediment right here.
Oh, look at that.
Oh yeah, it goes way back in there.
I think the old pipe's got to come out. Not feasible.
The blockage is somewhere in the 12-inch pipe, buried beneath 10 feet of mud. Digging it out by hand would take weeks.
To get the water system back, which is paramount, we got to yank this pipe out of here is all I can think of. But I'd rather not mess with it. What are we capable of doing?
Connie comes to the rescue.
You just think short term. Just get that PVC pipe, you've got 2 inch, 200 feet, poke it into the head of the spring there, bring it down and plumb it onto there and bypass this altogether. Then it's pristine water coming out of the spring into this pipe that has been pristine. Bob's your uncle. That's a quick fix. We can do that in an hour.
That's smart. So we might need another piece of pipe. As far as working with me, she comes up with a lot of great ideas. Hopefully we'll be golden.
The original system was designed to allow enough water to feed the entire slaughterhouse operation and outbuildings. With only the ranch house in use currently, the lightweight, narrow PVC pipe should provide sufficient flow.
Okay, I'll bring another one.
There's many, many things in life that people take for granted. But when you get here, you realize that is fraught with problems. You know, you just have to dive in and make it work.
Connie, can you tap on that? I need to hold this right here.
I've been very fortunate on just about every aspect of Connie. She's just a unique individual, and she's game to do anything.
When you take on a project like this, and when you take on a life like this, you have to be fully prepared to get involved in everything.
Oh, this is way better.
Are you getting pretty full flow? Is that coming out pretty much full bore, Connie?
A length of new pipe bypasses the blockage, but the only way to link it to the old pipes feeding the ranch is a salvaged 1950s connector.
Okay, that's good. Now let's tighten this guy up.
It's a little wet here. Whew, I think that might work.
Right. About as tight as this going to get.
We can live with it.
Yeah, we have some pressure going downhill.
It's only a short-term fix, but with water flowing through the pipes, Pat and Connie will be able to shower tomorrow.
We did it, man.
You got to make things work out here in the bush.
800 miles from mainland Alaska is the remote settlement of Cold Bay. Wilderness guide Charlie Somerville has just 3 weeks before the start of the Aleutian tourist season. Right now, the new lodge that's supposed to host paying guests at Volcano Bay is a pile of lumber on a hillside blasted by ocean winds, and the local bear population is taking an interest in the new arrivals.
That's a big bear. That's a big bear.
The brown bear is the largest and deadliest predator in the U.S., responsible for 40 attacks on humans a year, and 150 live within just 20 miles of the cabin.
Everywhere you look, you see bears. Volcano Bay is on the map, and now the secret's out that we got bears.
The new cabin will be in a perfect spot for tourists to view bears close up. It overlooks a lagoon packed with salmon, favorite meal of the brown bear. But that prime location puts it right in the middle of 2 established bear trails.
This is probably a 500 or 1,000-year-old bear trail. The bears just make these big, deep trails. It's their easiest way to walk, and you can tell it's real hard.
And for the whole time they're building the cabin, Charlie and his crew will be living in tents with no protection.
Haters can say what they want, and all these bear experts say, oh, you guys were reckless, or you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I say, well, come on out and join the party. Talk is cheap.
Chief Carpenter Witt and ex-state trooper Dan have never faced a bear in the wild. It's down to Charlie to protect his crew.
See these little ones? There's cub tracks.
He checks the perimeter of his property for evidence of bears.
You don't want to surprise a bear, and you don't want it to surprise you. Once in a great while, you might just have some rogue bear that has a bad day, like human beings, and goes crazy.
For a veteran guide like Charlie, the prints offer clues about the threat he faces.
There's actually like 3, 4 bears. There's one big boar there. That's about an 8-footer. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 active bears working here. This is a front pad. This is a back pad. So you measure from here to here. That's 6 inches. So you add an inch, so that's 7. So this is a 7-foot bear that's walking up the beach.
Just 100 feet from the planned construction site, Charlie makes a worrying discovery.
These are where the bears do all their scratching. See all of them up here? There's a big one right there. Oh yeah, look at that. We'll call this the scratch pole.
The scratch pole makes the site a prime destination for local bears. To stop a potential deadly rampage, Charlie rolls out $500 worth of anti-bear fencing.
I got me a perfect bear fence. We got Fort Knox. We're so secure, we're gonna sleep just cozy tonight.
A 9,000-volt punch provides a disincentive for any curious intruder. For Alaska newbies Whit and Dan, building the defenses is a whole new challenge.
This is the first time I've ever put the electric fence up, first time I've read the instructions, so we're gonna hope for the best.
So just go through it again?
Yeah. But it's gotta be tight.
No, I would say wrap it around the top, put a little bit of, no, we don't want it to hit
No,
that.
we're gonna grab that hook and it's gonna tie it onto the hook.
Like this.
There you go. But we gotta tighten it up.
I don't know how we're gonna test it.
Yeah. I'm the oldest, so I'm out.
Sam, we voted. You like a little rush, so when we light this thing up, we just want you to go like this.
Put your tongue on it.
Real quick.
Oh, that's even better.
Whit draws the short straw.
It's not even turned on yet, so.
There's a camera, come on. I see a caribou, looks like it's some kind of dog, maybe a wolf, and a feral pig. I'm looking for the bear. I don't see grizzly bear on there. I don't get it.
Oh, it's working, brother.
With the fence secured, Charlie fixes dinner for the crew.
Chef Chaz in the house. Chef Chaz is back, baby. Oh, I just like to cook. As you can see with my boyish figure, I like to eat. You can't be eating all this granola. You gotta have some real man food. We were eating dinner. We were doing a little talk and having some fun and just laughing.
As dinner draws to a close, there's movement at the edge of camp.
We got a bear, brown bear, right up on the hill. It's about 85, 90 yards from us.
Less than 30 feet from the camp kitchen, a hungry brown bear prowls in the undergrowth.
That's pretty close. This isn't no zoo, I can tell you that. We are 600 miles from Anchorage in the Aleutians, and we had dinner company.
Only 4 strands of electrified wire stand between the bear and Charlie's team.
You don't want to get much closer than that, because when they can run 32 miles an hour, they can be on you in like a second and a half. He's nervous because he's like, what the hell is going on with all these people? And I'm getting a little nervous. Hey! Hey, get out of here!
This 6-foot bear, weighing around 800 pounds, is a killing machine. As long as it lingers around the camp, it's a danger to the crew.
Well, if he comes into our area, he's gonna get lit up. He's gonna get spanked. Like this little fence, this is just like makes you feel good, but it's doing nothing right now. Everybody wants to creep up to that fence and think it's like a plexiglass at the zoo, but that's not the case. I mean, that's just an imaginary boundary. If a bear truly wants to come through an electric fence, it can just charge through an electric fence. Hey, Dan, just shut that fence off just a second. Just push that switch off. Turn it off. Hey, bear!
The fence is getting in Charlie's way, and he's at risk of getting electrocuted himself.
Somebody has to take responsibility and take control, and the bottom line is if somebody gets hurt out here, it's going to be a bad thing. Watch his ears. So the only option we have is calling a Coast Guard helicopter, if they would even fly in this weather, to evacuate us if we had a problem. So we have to deal with our own problems out here.
In Alaska, it's illegal to shoot a bear unless you're defending yourself or your property. The crew have guns, but Charlie has a different idea.
Hey! 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 Brett, throw a rock at him. You got a better arm than me.
A rock won't seriously injure a bear, but it might make it think this is a bad place to hang out.
Hey, get out of here! Hey! Hey,
Oh, yeah.
get! Go home! Get! Yeah, bear! Go home!
For my safety, for our family's safety, for everybody's safety, we had to, unfortunately, give him a little bit of negative reinforcement, and just so that he understood that, you know, we're not here to harm him. We want to live in peace and harmony, but we have our buffer zone and our safety zone that we have to live with too. This is bush Alaska, and stuff out here will kill you. And I'm not here to play games.
Everybody's gonna sleep good tonight.
As the midnight sun sets, the crew are ready for some well-earned rest. But another nighttime prowler keeps Charlie out of bed. The camp goes to sleep knowing for as long as it takes them to build the Volcano Bay Wilderness Lodge, eyes will be watching them from the dark. On the remote island of Umnak, Pat and Connie Harvey are selling their huge cattle ranch. For 30 years, this place has been their life. It's the most remote ranch in the whole of America, home to over 10,000 wild cattle. But they also have another source of income. Scientists. Every year, a group of around 15 volcanologists arrive at Pat and Connie's ranch to carry out research on one of the island's active volcanoes.
The volcano's in the central portion of the island. The scientists have come almost every year to monitor them.
Mount Okmok sits at the heart of a range of volcanoes, spread out over 1,600 miles.
Ranching is our main thing here, but we've had several visitors come and stay over the years, and it all helps. They paid us to be accommodated, so we don't want to fall short on that.
Today, Pat and Connie are getting ready for the invasion of scientists from the Alaska Volcano Observatory, or AVO. Their boat will be docking soon, and Pat needs his vehicles running to carry their gear the 3 miles to the ranch.
AVO's coming in 12 hours, so we kind of need a skid steer down the dock and that truck to bring their stuff up here. We'll do that.
Caretaker Dean pitches in to help.
Things were left in a bad way. Tools everywhere. Garage door broken. It's frustrating when there's so much to do and a short time to do it.
To get heavy equipment off the boat, they use a lifting vehicle called a skid steer. But this one hasn't been fired up for almost a year.
Oil's good.
Very clean, too.
Well, we need some oils.
You need a good set of tools to run a remote place like this. The skid steer, the most amazing piece of machinery we got around here. It's a very versatile piece of equipment. You can put forks on it for lifting pallets and whatnot, and then you can put a bucket on for leveling dirt or landscaping or whatever you're doing with aggregate stuff.
In any event, I'm going to try and start it right now.
The skid steer can lift over a ton of equipment, but right now, it's not lifting anything.
No, I think it's dead.
Lada?
Nope, it's dead.
I really had no idea of what kind of shape everything would be in. Let's put it on charge.
The other vital vehicle for transporting equipment is this 1970s GMC flatbed truck. Once the skid steer lifts the gear off the boat, this truck will bring it 3 miles from the dock to the ranch. But just like the skid steer, it hasn't fired up for a year.
As soon as something is exposed to the weather, it starts rusting or drying up, breaking down. Pat, there's quite a bit to do.
While the boys are grappling with the vehicle problems, Connie is back in the ranch. She's preparing the accommodation to give the scientists a homely welcome.
On the ranch, there's 2 different camps. There's 2 different living quarters. Each one has 2 or 3 washers and dryers and holds about 24 people. Sometimes it gets pretty hectic. Obviously, it gets very hectic. But you've got to keep things rolling. Whoever's up here has to do their own laundry typically, but there's a lot of house laundry that has to be done too. Well, it's like a normal household, you know. Everything has to be maintained and looked after so that when people come, everything's ready to go.
For the duration of their stay, the job of looking after the scientists falls to Connie. Making them feel at home is a matter of pride.
The main thing that people want, I think, when they come here is to feel safe and to feel comfortable.
She just took over. It worked out great. In the kitchen, it needed to be to a standard, and she brought it up to that standard and better. You start putting the little curtains around the sinks and all that kind of stuff.
The kitchen is really, in every home, it's the heart of the home. But here, in particular, this is where people from all different walks of life, people from all over the world, people from all different backgrounds join together for dinner, and everybody feels like they're part of the family. This is where everybody gathers at night at the Fox Den. Quite often we'll plug in a movie, got the big pot-belly stove. It just makes everything feel ranchy.
It's now 3 p.m. The scientists arrive in just an hour, and Pat and Dean are still trying to get the truck to start.
Oil okay?
We're having a problem with fuel pump right now.
It was running pretty good there for a minute.
It's an older GMC, 3-ton flatbed. Pat says it works, but I don't.
It's got the oil laid on.
Pat, when we come up to a piece of equipment, he says, you better show me the ins and outs of this, how to get it started, so I won't have a problem if I need to use it. As far as engine parts, I've learned diesel mechanic, engine mechanic, which is handy, especially when you're here.
The V8 engine coughs into life, but the truck's aging tires struggle to grip on the dirt floor.
Dean's an all-around kind of guy. He does get stuck in when we have problems.
There we go.
Dan lays down strips of wood to provide a solid surface.
Pretty good.
The scientists are almost here, and with the 60-year-old truck finally moving, Pat can roll out the welcome wagon. "245 miles from Anchorage, engineer Marek Jakinski and boat captain John Salmon are struggling in the icy waters of the Queechak River. 25 feet beneath the water's surface is a green energy generator known as the RivGen turbine. It supplies clean power to the village of Igiugig, but without essential maintenance, the system might not survive the harsh Alaskan winter. After the first attempt to lift the turbine from the riverbed, the 26-foot-long skiff is dangerously full of water.
We're tippy.
Yeah, we got to get this water out.
Yeah. So we don't ever usually bring on this much water, so we're gonna go drain some water out. We don't usually get water in the cabin, so that's it's always a new adventure with us. Drain the water out, come back out and try it again a little bit here. Still objective is to get the device up today, so we'll just do a quick break and a regroup and try again soon.
The flooding threatens to capsize John's skiff, the Stella J. He has no choice but to abandon the mission and head for shore.
I feel like we're over heavy.
The more water you have on board, the heavier the boat is. We're relying on the buoyancy of the boat to provide that upward force of us. Having more water on deck is kind of hurting our abilities to bring the device up right now.
Hundreds of gallons of water make the skiff heavy and hard to move.
I don't know how we're gonna pull it back out of the water now.
I gave it full tilt, as that was as much as the boat had left, and when it couldn't do that, that's when I called it, and back to the beach we were going with maximum water.
It was pretty alarming to me when we were heading back after our first attempt at retrieval, how slow the boat was going. It's a heavy-ass boat. So that was the first time I was really kind of alarmed as to what the reality of the situation was.
To drain the boat, they have to get it out of the water.
Almost.
I wasn't quite sure how they took the water out forward of the fuel tank.
If John is unable to drain the boat, the Riv Gen will have to survive the winter without protective maintenance.
I heard some sloshing. Is that inside the sealed hole?
My resolve to that would be to just punch a hole through the deck. I didn't have to.
So there's a drain plug inside that he just found, so we're gonna pull that out, get some of the water out of the inside of the hole here.
We probably had somewhere around 400 gallons of water in there.
Everything's looking pretty good for us to get back in the water, so we're just trying to get everything as ready as we can for another attempt.
The Stella J is now 400 gallons of water and one crew member lighter.
I'm gonna back into the river.
John and Merrick have restored hope of retrieving the Riv Gen.
We're still anticipating being able to get the Riv Gen all the way up to the surface today, and then we'll go from there. Round 2, we are predicting more success. The boat's lighter, we got all the water out. Everything looks pretty good. And we have a couple more tools to use as well, so we'll see how this goes here. But part of the reason why it was so hard to pull up last time is we were pulling against gravel. So John's gonna try just to pull a little constant pressure on it to help us bring it up.
To lift the turbine, Merrick must retrieve the line and reattach it to the side of the skiff.
Yeah, you can see it?
It's at the very bottom, but I can see it.
Oh, way down there?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it wasn't in the gravel, we'd be free and clear right now. Was that good or not good?
It was no progress.
Not too far. It's right there. Pretty close. You know, John and I have done this together numerous times, and we've never had that much of an issue. You know, even the old tricks that we had that, you know, John maneuvering the vessel in certain ways weren't working. We're basically anchored to the riverbed right now.
No headway.
So.
We're burning a lot of gas for not going anywhere.
Yeah.
All right, progress has stopped, so we're gonna see if we can get down to the chain. Yeah, we're not making any more headway. All we'll do is just pull the boat into the water.
The chain isn't moving from the gravel riverbed. Instead of brute force, John and Merrick attempt to lift it to the surface by attaching a larger flotation buoy.
Yeah, I mean, we can get a C5 down low. That might be our best bet. See if that helps relieve some tension on it. I might just tie a bunch of buoys on there, I don't know.
Begin Operation Big Buoy.
Operation Big Buoy. What we did is we left a couple fairly buoyant buoys on it. We'll have to come back a little bit later in the fall when the river is lower, but it'll also be a lot colder then, so some of the stakes for doing the work is going to be a little bit higher just because of the temperatures we'll be facing then.
But the flotation buoys could take days to lift the chain, if they work at all. For now, Merrick has to abandon his mission and fly back to base in Anchorage. In Volcano Bay, Charlie Somerville's dream to build a new wilderness lodge is under threat. With bears all around, they've had to set up an electric fence for protection.
That's a big bear. That's a big bear.
The departure of the boat that brought the building materials leaves the team all alone, with miles of open ocean separating them from civilization.
Yeah, deuces, boy. Thank you.
Charlie and his team are now 300 miles from the nearest hospital. If anyone gets injured, the only way off the island would be by Coast Guard helicopter.
Well, the Coast Guard's not in Cold Bay, so we're an hour and 15 minutes to 2 hours away from getting a helicopter rescue if something happens. It's definitely a feeling when the mothership leaves and it sails around the corner and leaves you there with a 21-foot skiff.
The small metal skiff is only supposed to handle short coastal journeys, but right now, it's the team's only remaining link to home.
That's our lifeline to get back. It's something that I don't like to think about a lot. We're trapped in a beautiful place.
Charlie can't run a challenging build project without a better connection to base, but engine problems beached his ocean-going boat, the Grady White. He has to go back to Cold Bay to retrieve it.
I'm gonna go take the flag and put it up on the hill so I can see what's going on and watch the weather change and the wind direction. With the small skiff,
you know, safely to get back and forth all the way back to Cold Bay, I mean, you've got to have 8 to 15 mile-an-hour winds are preferred. You know, if it goes over 20, it's just no way are we ever going to take that skiff.
As long as the flag is showing high winds, Charlie is going nowhere.
Realistically, without having the big boat here right now, we're pretty much stuck here until the wind settles down. The weather out here has no conscience. It'll kill you in a heartbeat. You will freeze to death. The exposure, you can drown. It's just, this is no place to play.
To attempt the 25-mile journey to Cold Bay in his skiff, Charlie needs good weather all the way.
What's the weather doing?
Charlie's wife, Helen, in charge of logistics back in Cold Bay, gives an update on the sea conditions.
The water's okay. But it seems like it's starting to pick up right now here.
With the go-ahead from Helen, Charlie is going to attempt the crossing.
Okay, I'm gonna go. All right, want me to come down there? Yeah, I need some help.
It's 9 p.m. Even this far north, only 2 hours of daylight remain.
I'll grab my waders and we're gone.
Charlie and his daughter Sam have to leave within minutes or they'll be tackling a treacherous sea journey in the dark.
Okay, we gotta go. Yep, grab this. Whose is this? If I turn in and there's frickin' waves crashing, I'm coming back. See the wind right there? This is what I'm saying, when that's a north wind. Here, we gotta load, we gotta go. Yeah, the window of opportunity is closing. The wind's picking up.
With another storm closing in tomorrow, this could be Charlie's last chance to leave the bay for several days. The skiff only has a puny 50-horsepower motor.
Yeah.
The 25-mile journey could take up to 4 hours.
We gotta go out through the surf here, out through the break.
Despite the calm, Charlie has mixed feelings about the ride ahead.
It's gonna get cool and wet. It'll be fine until we go around the corner.
The tiny boat leaves the shelter of the bay and is hit by the full force of the Pacific.
The other side is 25 miles of open water. And I'm looking ahead and I'm seeing the white caps. 3 to 4 footers crashing in here.
The skiff is no match for the sea.
The tide's dumping out and 15 to 20 mile an hour wind picks up. When you look at the risk versus reward, I did need to get back to town to deal with some boat issues, but it just wasn't worth pushing it that hard with the weather and beating up your equipment. And if you get 20 days straight of 20 to 40 mile an hour winds, it will devastate a project and it will morally bankrupt your staff.
Defeated, Charlie comes limping back to shore.
The wind's picking up too much. It's already, we have a 25-mile run and it's just getting worse.
The only spot where he can land the boat is over a mile from camp. To get a ride back, Charlie needs to get the attention of his team.
The old 41 mag. I've had it since I was 19 years old. First gun in Alaska. Dirty Harry style. Cover your ears.
The gunshot alerts the crew.
Give them a little shot to wake them up. They're probably all sleeping.
With the big boat still at Cold Bay, the team has no emergency exit plan and no way to get supplies.
There we go, they're waving, they're coming to get us.
I was pretty shocked that Charlie didn't make it back, and it was a little sobering to think, like, you know, if you cut your hand, if you fall, trip in the sand, get mauled by a bear, you're probably gonna be in trouble.
In the Aleutians, only 2% of territory is reachable by road. For many communities, small planes are often the only link to the outside world. Alaska has 3 times more pilots per capita than any other state. And the state's unique aviation traditions could offer a solution to Charlie's problem. Volcano Bay doesn't have an airstrip, so Charlie's gonna make his own.
Today we're gonna mark off a runway.
Apart from Charlie, no one has ever landed a plane here before.
I've still got an airplane of my own that we fly, but this year I felt it was better to not be the pilot in command, because you can't be the best pilot, you can't be the best boat captain, you can't be the best carpenter, the best father, and the best boss all in one.
Got a natural runway here on the beach, so you can see how hard the sand is out here. This is really hard. This is like pavement. And now we're going to mark the outside boundary out here. I'm just trying to mark off a good, safe area near the camp so the pilots can come in and out and feel 100% safe.
Alaskan bush pilots are renowned for landing where no other pilot would dare.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
There you go.
But Charlie wants to make touchdown as smooth as possible.
Have to drive down and pick up the kelp and the balls and the debris, make sure there's nothing, because you hit one of these big chunks of kelp with a tire or a prop and it can be a problem.
These bush pilots fly everything from dog food to soda cans to drunk people to commercial fishermen, and whatever it takes, they get the job done. I will take local knowledge of piloting skills and understanding the terrain and the weather versus some 10,000-hour Alaska airline captain any day of the week that doesn't understand the local area and know the weather and terrains.
With the runway in place, Charlie just has to convince a pilot to take on the job.
This is a piece of cake. This is like an international airport.
But he's struggling to get anyone on the phone.
I can't get a hold of the pilot. I've texted both his numbers, so we're just trying to get everything worked out. Just another day in paradise. One man's dream is another man's nightmare. And some days, no matter how beautiful it is, how scenic it is, this place is a living nightmare to get anything done. This will try your patience. And it's a real stressful time.
Satellite phone is the only way to communicate with the mainland.
There's a 2 to 5 minute delay on the satellite messaging, and then you're trying to talk back and forth and communicate. We want a plane to land it. I can't get a response.
Without a plane or an ocean-going boat, the team is stranded at Volcano Bay, and Charlie's build project may be over before it's barely begun. After the failed attempt to lift Igiugig's turbine from the riverbed, engineer Marek Jakinski flies 663 miles southwest to the remote community of False Pass. But winds of over 50 miles an hour make for a bumpy journey.
Yeah, I've never flown in conditions this bad before. This is pretty hellacious. You know, the wind like this, this might even tear down a wind turbine, how strong it is coming through here. So we have to be, pretty mindful.
False Pass lies on the eastern shore of Unimak Island, beside a strait connecting the Pacific Gulf of Alaska to the Bering Sea. A new turbine called the Tide Gen is planned to harness the awesome power of the Bering Sea for 120 kilowatts of clean energy. But the weather conditions here are a huge challenge for any construction project.
Something that comes to mind when I think of False Pass is untamed. It's an area that is raw and wild.
Usually this time of the year we have some pretty hellacious storms. I know in the past we've had over 100-mile-an-hour winds here, 120, blowing roofs off houses and what have you.
Before installing the device, Marek needs to carry out vital survey work to determine where the best location for the unit will be.
So False Pass has a large community. I think when we talk to them, it's about somewhere between 40 and 60 persistent people that live here, but then they have an annual population that booms up to 400 when they have fish processing happening in town. So actually we're kind of getting to that area here.
The huge spike in population during the summer months puts a massive strain on the city's grid and quadruples their use of diesel.
Kerosene, gasoline, 100% diesel for their power generation. And they have this raw, untapped potential in front of them, which is the ocean.
It's going to be amazing for the village once they finally get it going. So today we're going to be doing a survey of their electrical grid. There's quite a few spots we just want to know where all their connection points are. And you always have to be bear aware when you're walking in the woods here. Main transformer boxes. You can hear that one humming away. So this would be 480 volts in from their generator building to here, and this would step it down to 120 volts to go into this maintenance building right here. This one's pretty close to the water, which I like. This could potentially be a come ashore location for us.
Now he needs to find a stretch of water where the tide gen can fit and do its job. It needs to be at least 50 feet deep, with water flowing at a speed of over 11 feet per second.
So we're gonna go out here on Shane's boat.
Merrick gets in touch with False Pass local Shane Hoblet. Shane is a commercial crab fisherman and owner of the boat Aleut's Sun. The onboard technology allows Merrick to see what the depth of the ocean is at any given point.
We're gonna go out to Whirl Point. We're gonna do a little bit of depth sounding in the area and try to find some of the deeper spots that we're looking for. And after that, we might go look for a little bit of crab. But first things first, we're gonna go and get some measurements over there on the strait where the water's running really fast.
So you can see where we're at now.
Yeah.
And then,
oh, that is really nice.
And then the depth is right here. See 20.4.
Looking at the depth right here, comparing it with a navigational chart. So we're about 25 fathoms or so of depth. So that's what, times 6. So you do the math back at home.
25 fathoms is 150 feet, more than deep enough for the tide gen.
We definitely know that spot over there by Whirl Point is going to be our best bet for making lots of power here in Falls Pass. That's the plan.
The water at Whirl Point is fast and deep, and close enough to the local grid to connect. With the mission accomplished, Shane's crew turned their attention to dinner.
So the pots that we're looking at, those are your personal pots?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Shane uses the pots to catch crab for his family and people in the village. Even for feeding themselves, locals have to obey strict fishing rules. All crab under the legal minimum of 6.5 inches in width must be returned to the water.
Certain width across the back, and we have measuring sticks. They don't make the mark on the stick, we just throw them back in the ocean.
One of the pots contains a surprise.
Got an octopus!
Which is bad news for Shane.
There's an octopus in it, and when there's an octopus in the pot, no crab will go in there.
Yeah, look at that. That's a big guy.
If a crab was in there, the octopus would just eat that as well. So the octopus that we caught, we were going to take it into town, and if somebody wants to eat something, they can come and get it.
Octopus is a local delicacy in Falls Pass, but Shane won't be having any.
I don't eat it. I like catching stuff. I don't eat much out of the ocean. I like chicken.
I've actually not seen octopus that big for a long time, so it's cool to see one again. Never really eaten octopus before, but willing to try. But got some crab down here we're gonna cook up.
Merrick can look forward to a gourmet seafood platter, knowing he's put in the groundwork to give Falls Pass a lifetime of clean energy.
You know, helping this advancement of this community is kind of personal for me, but also for the whole state of Alaska. I'm really looking forward to taking the data we gathered here and going back and making a good showing of it.
"220 miles southwest of Falls Pass is Umnak Island, where Pat and Connie Harvey are planning to sell their mega ranch. On the volcanic island of Umnak.
Liberty Quarter. Can't tell what year it's from. 2018. Hopefully it's good luck. We need some.
Owner Pat Harvey and caretaker Dean are heading to the dock to meet the scientists who provide a welcome seasonal income for his business.
The volcano scientists are early throwing the weight. Got this wonderful 3-ton Chevy truck. A little loud and runs like a top most of the time.
The ranch's aging vehicles provide the only way of getting the vital science gear to the ranch.
There is always a lot of equipment from the Alaska Volcanoes Observatory.
3 tons of specialist scientific equipment needs to be unloaded from the boat that carries out the 3-mile run from the mainland.
The project that we're doing here, it takes a lot of equipment. Anything between solar panels, data digitizers, as well as mechanical tools, welding, generators, drills.
The equipment is due for installation on the rim of the largest Aleutian volcano, right at the center of this island.
The Aleutians is super important. On Okmok, it's on alert right now because it's active. It's had a big eruption in 2008. It's inflating a little bit every day, maybe centimeters a year, and it's gearing up for the next eruption. So a big part of what we're doing out here is to measure the ground swelling.
Every year, the team of volcanologists update their equipment on the rim of Mount Okmok.
There's many things we have to measure, and it's very rare to do them all on one volcano. So we've developed here with our equipment seismometer capability, GPS, gas, magnetics, visual camera, infrared camera. This is totally cutting edge, not been done in the US, and doing it in a really difficult place.
I'd just go ahead and start loading, Dean.
Any damage to the equipment could cost thousands of dollars.
If we'd break any of that seismic equipment and their GPS equipment, it'll be a lot of money for me. Is that okay over there? Yep, just go that way a bit.
The first truckload of equipment is away, but after a year sitting in a shed, the skid steer that handles the unloading is showing the strain.
Hey.
There's a radiator leak.
A leak in the radiator has caused the skid steer to overheat.
So I'd be crazy to try and let you keep going. One pipe might break if I'm not careful here.
Now the scientific equipment sits at the dockside, exposed to the elements. Pat and Dean must find a fix for the skid steer's broken hose to move the equipment.
To fix something, I've found since I've been here, I've had to use my imagination most of the time. I wonder if a pipe Band-Aid would work on that.
That would work.
Dean uses plumbing supplies, PVC pipe wrap, to improvise a fix to the radiator pipe.
Keep going a little bit more. Okay. It will to itself once you get the first wrap. We're lucky to have a guy like Dean with us out here.
Okay. Now there's a hose clamp just to your right.
And now he's always finding a simpler way to do things. And just hold that there. Not very good traction, is it? Okay, that'll make that one work. To finish this job.
That's pretty good.
As the light fades over Umnak, the newly repaired skid steer gets to work. The precious scientific cargo is finally en route to the ranch house, ready to be installed 10,000 feet up on the crater of Mount Okmok.
You got to make things work out here in the bush.
Umnak Island is the home to over 10,000 free-roaming cattle. Pat Harvey has been farming them for 30 years.
Grandfather and my dad, they had a ranch. I grew up with that, and I love the cowboy way of life. It doesn't get any better.
His wife Connie only joined the operation 7 years ago.
My first experience on Umnak Island was actually our third date. When we met, he said, well, I'd like to take you to my ranch in Alaska. And I said, oh, wow, is that what you say to all the girls?
From the moment I met her, I could tell she just loves an adventure.
Just weeks after they first met, Pat chartered a private flight for Connie to the island.
I took a small plane to the ranch, a shaky little plane ride. The pilot said, do you want me to buzz the ranch house? I was in the front seat, and I said, yeah. Down we go and over the ranch house, and the cattle scatter. It's so beautiful. And out came this handsome cowboy out to the runway to meet me. And he kind of winked at me, and I thought, well, okay.
Connie was invited to Umnak to experience a rare island roundup of the wild cattle by Pat and his team of cowboys.
These young men had come here to test their mettle. It's like we've gone back to the Old West. It was exciting, it was surreal, it was dramatic, it was funny.
Are you ready, Pat Harvey?
I'm ready. Born ready.
So I arrived with my camera. I got as much footage as I possibly could.
Just you doing the filming here?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Connie took her own video camera to her first roundup and shot more than 100 hours of footage.
Well, battle stations, everyone.
This is cool.
As they prepare the ranch for sale, the couple look back at their lives here.
This was in 2015. It's how they break in new wives in Alaska. Although I wasn't even your wife yet here. I was your girlfriend.
Why don't you tell us your first impression?
Well, I was so excited to see Pat Harvey that, number one, I couldn't sleep that night. It's like Christmas, and I was actually sharing a room with Riley, and he said, well, Connie, little girls that don't go to sleep don't get to see Santa.
It was fun. The more exciting it is, the more fun it is, really. Everything was so dynamic, all at the same time. There's helicopters coming in, cattle moving, cowboys rushing around.
Umnak Island is over 1,500 square miles of wild country. The only effective way to corral cattle out here is by helicopter.
He operates that thing just like it's an extension of his body. It's just amazing.
I've always been very intrigued by the outback ranches with helicopter mustering and large groups of cattle. Yeah, this is so cool how well it worked.
Yeah.
Pat used 2 ultra-lightweight R-22 helicopters to gather the cattle from all corners of the island.
Well, if you're trying to push them hard to get them to go somewhere, sometimes you gotta use pressure. But sometimes.
But once you get them going, they kind of do it.
Yeah, if they think it's their idea, and they are going the direction you want them to go, that's what
Let them do it.
There's the boys there, the pilots. Riders in the sky.
Oh, there's riders in the sky.
Picked up another 20 head up there on the hill. This is how it's done.
You may be a cowboy down inside your heart.
The pilots maneuver to pressure the wild herd toward the coast.
You got these cliffs right beside the beach that sort of contain the cattle so they can't get away on you. It's looking really good there.
Mm-hmm.
And they aren't going to go out in the water very far.
The beach provides a quick route along the island's edge, bypassing the mountainous interior.
You know, it's amazing how low they came to the ground with the choppers. It's not every chopper pilot that can manage this.
The pilots are specialists in aerial cattle wrangling from all over the world.
Love the challenge. They love the remoteness. And it was all in with the pilots, too.
But with feral cattle, even the experts can run into trouble.
I feel like I'm back there.
That was interesting with a rope.
3 days into the 2015 roundup, a young bull flees into the icy water of the Bering Sea and gets stuck.
There may be a little bit of swearing here.
Oh, you guys!
only way to get the 800-pound bull to safety is to pull it out.
You got it?
In this footage, you can see that one of the pilots is actually helping us on the ground because nobody stays home. It's everybody
all
in.
hands on deck.
All
yeah.
hands on deck.
Muscle is not enough. The prize bull is worth over $1,000. Pat can't leave it to freeze or drown, so he brings in an excavator to try to lift it out of the mud.
There they come.
Oh, you shook off that rope, damn it.
And the cattle didn't cooperate.
That goes against their nature, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
This bull is going nowhere. Over 650 miles from Anchorage lies Aleutian Island, the first link in the Aleutian Islands chain. Engineer Marek Jakinski is on a journey to bring green energy to these islands. The small village of False Pass is the planned site for a groundbreaking tidal generator that will cut down consumption of polluting diesel. With his survey work done, Marek is now taking some time off to hunt. As a native Alaskan and part Aleut, hunting is central to his way of life.
Just went ahead and talked to some folks in town, and I am borrowing a skiff, and I'm going to go across the strait here and take a look for some caribou. So there's a open hunting area over there.
Caribou are constantly on the move, roaming in herds of up to 300,000. But right now, they're just across the strait from False Pass. The opportunity to catch one for his family is too good for Marek to turn down.
Not a whole lot of gear. Got my bag. Got my rifle. Go check the gas tank and should be good to go.
Armed with a Remington 700, chambered at .270, Marek is well equipped for today's hunt.
I've heard the success rate's fairly good for finding caribou over here. Do I remain hopeful? We'll see though. I've been on hunts that seem pretty much like a sure bet and came back empty-handed, so just be ready for anything, I think.
The only boat available is a borrowed skiff.
Alright, looks like we got some water needs to get drained out. I'm gonna get this motor turned over. I'll run some of this stuff out of the over here and should be good to go.
To get to where the herd is roaming, Marek faces a 2-mile journey across the icy waters of Isinotsky Strait. The crossing should take less than 20 minutes, but halfway into the journey, Marek encounters a problem.
Uh-oh.
When his engine suddenly dies.
Looks like it's seized up. Something caught on the rock or something? No, let's take a look here really quick.
A temperamental engine is no big deal for a trained engineer like Marek.
I don't know, it's pretty hard to pull over right now. It's not getting enough gas or something. All I can think is this connector is letting in air right here where the gasoline comes in. It's supposed to hold on tight, kind of like that, but it seems to pop off every time. So I think, just guessing here, that that might be part of the issue.
But this problem doesn't have an easy fix. The line attached to the fuel tank has become loose and is no longer feeding gas to the motor.
I'm gonna try to rig it up so that it stays on tight.
Merrick improvises a solution, reattaching the line to the gas tank using some string.
That feels a lot better. Okay, try this again.
The engine's turning over, but Merrick's temporary fix won't see him through a whole day of hunting.
Yeah, the motor's just not, it's loping, you can kind of hear it. Makes me wonder if there's water in the gas line or an air leak in the gas line.
He has no choice but to head back to port.
Yeah, we're back, so that's good. Just swapping gas tanks and see if this one runs a little better or not. I think we're good. Good. We'll try this one out.
With a new gas tank, Merrick sets out to sea once more, hoping for a fresh start to the hunt.
We're gonna cruise along the coast here. This is pretty good caribou terrain. There's a lot of tundra right here. This hill's called Trader's Head, and this is where they usually see caribou, is over here on this side of the mountain. So we're gonna give it a try.
Trader's Head is a popular spot for False Pass locals to catch caribou migrating across the strait. But Merrick's survey of the shoreline turns up an unpleasant surprise.
Well, here we are. I'm gonna look a little bit. The binoculars, I got soaking wet. I don't want to go over there. There's a brown bear there. If there's a bear around, he'll definitely be scaring away any herbivores. You can just barely see him kind of moseying along there. Oh, he just disappeared, shoot. It looks like there's 3 bears on the beach over here, and they're kind of far away. 3 bears means unlikely any caribou. So I think we'll call this spot a no-go.
The brown bears here can grow over 10 feet long.
Being born and raised up here in Alaska, I see at least a bear every year. I guess, you know, whether you're out hunting or sometimes you see them in the city, stuff like that. But, you know, down here in False Pass, you know, bears are a pretty regular occurrence. What is kind of unnerving about this being so shallow is that, you know, if there was a bear that wanted to come out and see us, he definitely could. He could just walk right out here. So we don't want to be caught in this. I'm just glad we see them before they see us.
Merrick turns away from the bear to set course for an alternate hunting ground.
What I'm gonna do, once we get out of here, I'll go cruise up along the side of this bluff one more time and take one more look for caribou there, and then we'll probably head back. All right, we're gonna motor for a bit.
But before he can get there, Merrick runs into another problem.
There's a tiny bit of gas in there, but I don't think it's gonna get us very far. Yeah, I think we're SOL with this tank.
Merrick is out of gas in an open boat on the icy waters of the Bering Sea. Wilderness guide Charlie Somerville is running out of time for his plan to build a lodge for tourists visiting Volcano Bay. The construction project needs a safe, reliable link back to base to be viable. But the only boat he has available is too small to handle the open ocean.
The wind's picking up too much.
To establish an air link to the mainland, Charlie has to build a beach runway.
It's a piece of cake. This is like an international airport
so the team can begin to build the wilderness lodge that Charlie's livelihood depends on.
The last finale is just pick our spot where we're gonna do the build for the first cabin and get going, and I am excited. I can't tell you. The sun came out, a glorious morning.
The newly purchased plot is 5 acres of prime real estate with a mountain view. But there are some very Aleutian problems to work out.
We've got a lot of variables we're taking into consideration. One of them is the big storms. We're trying to give ourselves a little bit of protection with this natural barrier.
The neighbors also have to be considered.
We call this the bear maze, the grizzly maze. This is where you don't camp and you don't play around, because that's where the bears sleep. I got a little thinking to do.
Master Carpenter Witt is here to oversee the build. He's worked in construction since age 13.
I've been very fortunate to work with some really talented carpenters and some really talented people. And if I'm gonna come up here and do this job, I wanna do it right. I don't want to put up this crappy cabin that just because someone wasn't thinking it through.
I want all the stuff up here to start laid out.
But self-taught builder Charlie has his own ways of working.
I'm a bushman, and I'm not building million-dollar homes. I'm building cabins in the wilds of Alaska. I get it done, and it ain't always pretty. Might be a bull in a china shop, but it's gonna get done, and we're gonna move on to the next phase, and that's just how it is.
The decision about where to position the cabin brings the two working methods into conflict.
Is this the spot, or you want to wait on that?
You can build the deck.
I know, but I'm saying this, Charlie, because I want to make sure we angle this the exact way you want it.
No, I'm fine. I'm good with it right there.
So right here, looking out like this.
Yeah.
While Witt and Charlie argue, the team are twiddling their thumbs.
I'm to the point where we just build a deck and move on. We're gonna waste a ton of time. Just build this mother and move on.
Brent was the lead carpenter, and he's a perfectionist. He's definitely a type A personality, and sometimes when you put two type A personalities in a room together, you have a little friction.
To avoid more delay, Charlie and Witt agree on the position.
From right here is where everybody's gonna be sitting, and when you look out those windows, I mean, you got the view.
I mean, it's just such an incredible spot.
In under 3 weeks, tourists are supposed to be living in this cabin, and construction is only just starting. As they get down to work, Witt makes a disturbing discovery.
The materials were not as plentiful as what I once thought.
I didn't count every single little piece of nail and box.
We had literally not one extra 2x6 for the rafters, not one.
The supply of wood is barely enough to complete the build. One false move of the saw,
one bad cut and I'm get fired, and I'm just fishing.
could stall the whole operation.
It's gonna take my time because we don't have one extra board here.
There's no way to get more wood onto the peninsula by boat, and so far there isn't a bush pilot willing to come. But Charlie is used to solving his own problems out in the wild.
We gotta go foresting. Harvesting from the beach.
The extreme ocean winds mean few trees grow in the Aleutians. But Charlie has his own wood supply. The beach at Volcano Bay is littered with timber.
That's probably 100-year-old old cannery timber.
The wood is from a fish processing factory built in the late 1800s. More than a century later, the lumber may be getting a second outing.
We're gonna just make a quick cut to test it, see what the inside looks like. 100-year-old old growth cedar, not a bit of rot. That's perfect.
Charlie has found enough salvaged wood for the cabin pilings.
That's gonna be our first timber for the new cabin.
The recycled lumber is buried deep into the sand to create a strong base for the lodge. Charlie's discovery gives construction a boost.
Ah, the smell of money.
But the lack of wood is still slowing down work.
There's an added measure twice, cut once. Here we're measuring 15 times.
questioning it, measuring again, and then
talking with each other.
The nearest hardware store is 600 miles away. With air freight at $20 per pound, replacements don't come cheap.
Whatever we got here is what we got, and one wrong cut could cost a lot of money and slow the project down.
It's a cost Charlie can't avoid. He has to get to Cold Bay to fix his big boat and start running building supplies and other essentials.
I have 10 days of medicine and we're on day 5, and so we're just trying to plan ahead.
I think we ran out of bread.
Not much left in this box.
We were joking with everyone who we would eat first in camp. Charlie wouldn't do well, I think, is what we said. I want to get a hot shower, and I want to get a nice warm bed.
Even if a plane does come to their rescue, not all the crew will be going home.
How can you want to leave? I mean, the weather's been phenomenal.
Yeah. Of course I want to come back home to see my Natalie and the cats.
Your cats aren't going to watch this, so you don't need to suck up to
Oh,
us.
no, the cats will be watching.
With only weeks until Charlie's lodge guests arrive, Dan and Whit have to keep working. After several failed attempts at communication, Charlie finally manages to get a pilot on the phone.
Hey, Guy, this is Charlie Somerville.
For Alaskan bush pilots, landing on rough wilderness runways is just part of the job. But Charlie is the only person ever to have landed a plane on Volcano Bay Beach. Unless he can convince this pilot the beach runway is safe, he's not flying anywhere.
I've got 3,000 feet of runway marked in perfectly clean, flat, hard cement. I swear to you, this is better than any runway you could ever land on. Okay, bye-bye. Perfect. Something's working. We got an airplane coming. 30 minutes.
With the plane en route, the team has less than half an hour to make sure the runway's safe.
You hit one of these big chunks of kelp with a tire or a prop and it can be a problem.
When you don't see a set of tire tracks on the beach, maybe it's for a reason. But it is a great runway, and I'm excited, and I can't thank Guy enough for coming in.
The pilot is 40-year veteran Guy Perry. Flying his Piper PA-32 Saratoga, he gets his first look at Charlie's beach runway.
Take a look here. But let's see how it is.
The ideal condition for a safe landing is low tide, which gives a wide, dry expanse of sand.
I think this tide is up, not down.
And I knew in the end that if he came in there and had a problem, it would be the first and last time anybody ever landed there.
It's very messy right now. Not happy.
At first glance, the beach looks too dangerous. Soft sand could easily snap the plane's landing gear. Guy performs a go-around, a procedure used when a pilot can't safely execute a landing.
If you can't land, you can't land. Guy, our pilot, is just a phenomenal dude.
There's never been an airplane landed on that beach before except for me, so he wasn't, 100% sure. You never land somewhere that nobody else has ever landed the first time.
Beaches can be a little deceiving. I've landed on beaches that I thought were soft, that were hard, ended up being pretty firm.
With the wind blowing across and you see that plane tipping side to side and having to, him, with his mastery, figuring out how to make it just land just right on that beach. And he's an artist with that plane.
A little softer.
And I will bet my reputation that this is the best bush airport you've landed on.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Anytime, anytime.
The express delivery of food and medicine will keep the crew going for now. Charlie gets on board for a return flight to Cold Bay so he can fix the big boat that will provide a reliable ferry for supplies. Back at base, he's reunited with wife Helen and granddaughter Charlie.
Knock, knock, we're home. Where's my princesses? Where's my princesses?
How's it going out there?
Going good. You're coming to see Papa? You come and look at me, get big hugs, Grandma.
But Charlie has no time to put his feet up and enjoy the warm welcome, unless he gets his big boat back into action and running supplies to Volcano Bay. The build project is dead in the water. On the remote Aleutian island of Umnak, Pat and Connie Harvey are watching a home video of one of their cattle roundups from 5 years ago. An 1,800-pound bull is stuck in the mud. The icy waters of the Bering Sea are just 33 degrees and not much higher in summer. Anyone falling in the water would suffer hypothermia in around 20 minutes.
To relive this again is fun.
The first rescue attempt has failed, and the tide is rising. The cowboys can't risk entering the water and getting trapped themselves.
You gotta switch gears and come up with plan B in a hurry.
To save the stranded animal, Pat comes up with an ingenious plan.
I can drive right up to the edge and put somebody in the bucket to drop a loop on her. Do that up around his horn, have it attached to the bucket.
My goodness, when I think about it, that was a hell of a plan.
Pat's daring plan puts two cowboys inside the bucket of an excavator. They attach a strong metal chain to the bull's horns and then tie it to the bucket.
You could just feel your heart racing. The camera's shaking.
The full 1,800-pound weight of the bull is on the arm of the excavator, and its legs are now finally free of the mud.
It worked really well, actually. Just
It did, but it was dangerous as hell.
The cowboys work quickly to unhook the chain before the confused bull gets on its feet, putting their lives at risk.
This got a little bit hairy. I have told this story to people, and I know they don't believe me.
I believe you.
With the bulls safely reunited with the herd, Pat's helicopter pilots corral the cattle into the holding pens.
So they just brought in enough for 2 days each time, or even 3 days, and we held them in the paddocks that we have around.
The cowboys now begin the dangerous job of getting the animals ready to be shipped off the island. It means coming face to face with these wild beasts.
Holy, it's gonna jump over the fence there.
See, and this is neat how this works. They're nervous. They don't know why they're being funneled into something.
This big Simmental bull is actually shaking the entire corral. Every time he rams the fence there. Hey, caramba. Watch out!
You build your facilities so that they'll handle them. Like our working corrals are all pretty much bomb-proof. We've had cattle, thousands of cattle through them. And these cattle are just as manageable. They're easy to push through our system and get to the slaughter knock box and run through the plant.
Getting turned into sandwich meat.
Now are the bulls coming down here?
They're starting to come down the alleyway here.
Oh, he's gonna run the bulls. Everybody's getting the heck out of the way.
The cattle are ready for shipping. Now all they have to do is get them onto a boat.
It was so cool when they actually finally kind of went for it.
He says, get down. He wants us way down.
You can see how close we were. In a foxhole, waiting for the herd to come.
What were you thinking?
You put me there.
What was I thinking?
I don't know.
The cattle are now crammed onto the ship. It marks the end of the 2015 roundup.
There wasn't one person that didn't love it. As far as the excitement, the drama, the danger, everything's exciting.
Had a lot of people up here that just absolutely loved it. And glad they came. So, and they're still my friends, so that's cool.
Pat forges many close relationships during a roundup, but back in 2015, there were none more important than Connie.
There we go, see? Now they wouldn't recognize, that's better.
I also needed someone that was as exciting as Pat. I needed the excitement of this.
Hi, Pat. Look at him, busy eating licorice over here.
She's just a great partner, for sure. She just enjoyed herself, and she just rolls up her sleeves and gets right in there, and she just loves an adventure, and couldn't ask for better.
Engineer Marek Jakinski has run out of gas halfway into his boat journey to the caribou hunting grounds on the Alaskan Peninsula. The nearest outpost of civilization is the tiny city of False Pass, across the icy water of the Bering Sea.
There's a tiny bit of gas in there, but I don't think it's going to get us very far. Yeah, I think we're SOL with this tank.
Alone on a waterway notorious for unpredictable weather, Marek calls for help.
Yeah, we got reception here, so that's good. I'll call Carlene, I guess. See an answer in. I'm gonna try to call Steven really quick too. No, Steven didn't answer.
No one's picking up.
You know, if all else failed and we couldn't get a hold of anybody, we're kind of at the mercy of the ocean here. And, you know, right behind me, that's the Bering Sea.
Even in summer, the water in the Bering Sea is freezing. Hypothermia could kill a person in minutes. But after half an hour of anxiously watching the weather, Marek finally catches a break.
Stephen Kennedy called me back. Hey, Stephen, it's Marek. How you doing? Hey, we ran out of gas coming halfway across the strait here. I was curious if you might be able to come and grab a skiff and give us a tow if you're free. Hey, sounds good. Hey, thanks. Now we'll just wait, I guess.
It's another hour of waiting before help arrives from False Pass.
I think I see a boat headed this way. All right, that must be them, yeah. Hey guys! My heroes! The tank was getting kind of light when I was over there, and I was like, I better head straight back. And
Locals Stephen Kennedy and Caleb Anderson come to the rescue with some spare gas.
there you go.
Let's see if that'll fix things.
Oh yeah, this will be perfect for us. Thank you very much.
With a tank full of gas, Marek sets course for False Pass Harbor and the promise of safety.
All right.
But with daylight fading fast, the caribou hunt has to go on hold. Marek can only hope tomorrow brings better luck.
Yeah, a little unfortunate, kind of a terrible end to a trip with no caribou. We'll try tomorrow, see if we can see any caribou over there. You never know, the conditions change, animals move around, and hopefully we'll see something next time.
Charlie Somerville now has just 18 days left to build a cabin in the remote wilderness of Volcano Bay. He needs all the help he can get, so youngest daughter Steph has flown in to lend a hand.
So let me tell you what's going on. Over the trail to the creek, take somebody with you with a gun. We fill the empty milk jugs, take a marker, put a C on them. That means creek water. Keep up on that food that's in there.
Charlie's flying back to Cold Bay to fix his big boat. In his absence, Steph will take charge as camp chief.
This is like Treasure Island. It's like something no one else has ever seen before. Right now we're at the creek to get some water. This is coming down from the mountains that are behind us and goes out into the ocean.
At $500 per flight, bringing bottled water on the small bush plane is pricey. So Steph supplements supplies with the local stuff.
Normally, like, you just turn on a faucet and there you go. Most people would resort to drinking water from the river as like life or death situation, but us, we kind of just drink it every day.
To a member of the Somerville family, foraging for your drinking water counts as normal.
Stephanie and Samantha, they have grown up running around the tundra with guns and four-wheelers, and I mean, but they have been doing that since they were 3 years old.
My dad's worked really hard over the years, and this is like literally our only way of life. My dad had another huge lodge, and that's pretty much where we grew up at. You know, they say you're raised by wolves. Well, I was raised by fishing guides. We just shower right inside the lagoon or swim in the ocean. You definitely appreciate the small things in life.
Steph is keeping the family traditions going.
I am a mom of a beautiful 2-year-old little girl. Her name is Charlie, after my dad. I'm actually really excited that Charlie is like that. I'm getting to raise my daughter the same ways that I was raised. Everyone who comes here, they love Charlie. Like, she's such a happy, like, energetic little spirit. She's just running around and she goes out fishing with me. I actually really miss her right now being out here. I wish she was here with me, but she's back with her grandma.
Steph's taking on water, but food is still an issue. The crew have to fend for themselves, and Whit's stepping up.
When I had to feed the crew, I made the joke, like, this is what I've trained for my whole life. Like, this is the moment that, like, I've put all this time in for. I'm an avid fisherman.
Good feeling. Yeah, it's a nice fish.
The lake I live on is literally called Fish Lake. I'll come back from a fishing trip and I'll go fishing.
All those fish is pushing down to us.
Mm-hmm. I think fishing is an escape. I think fishing is like something where my mind can go every different direction. When I'm fishing, I'm very present.
Oh my God! Oh! Nice shot, Rhino! Size of him!
Holy cow!
Whit's catch at Volcano Bay are sockeye salmon, or reds.
Salmon are such a fascinating creature. They live in the river for about 2 years, and they go out to the sea for 2 years. They go way out in the ocean, and then they come back, and this is the wildest part to me, is they come back to the same stream where they were born to be able to spawn by their sense of smell.
Sockeyes swim up to 7,000 miles to reach their breeding grounds. These salmon are on a 3-mile sprint to the finish line.
After all the battles they have to fight, they have to be able to come back here, go through the gauntlet of bears and eagles and seagulls and wolves, and then make it up to their home spawning grounds. And then sometimes a guy from Wisconsin gets in their way too.
Less than 10% of salmon survive the epic journey from ocean to spawning spot. The lagoon is the final battleground.
I'm gonna get my rod out, I'm gonna get everything set up the way I need it, and I'm gonna go out there and catch a lot of fish. Trying to keep my focus, it's tough when I hear salmon flopping around down there.
Over 30 million sockeye are caught in Alaska every year. 20,000 of them battle their way into Volcano Bay Lagoon in a single month.
You can see a school coming through right now. They're everywhere. They're just a badass, tough fish.
Whit's on a mission to catch the crew's dinner, but 15-pound sockeye are known to put up a fight.
He likes to hunt and fish.
He loves fishing and never let us forget about how good he was.
It's usually not much of a competition. I usually catch way more than everybody, so.
I think he paid the price a little bit.
I have a spot now I like. There's a fish. There he goes. How did I lose that? I don't have the weight right on this. Come here, come here, come here.
Oh my God, look, 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 hey.
Oh my God, how did I miss that fish? This isn't my equipment, so I'm not that comfortable with it. Blaming my tools. As soon as you start moving is when you spook them.
Oh my God, look at that.
Lost the rod. Mock them, mock them, mock them. Woo! There's not much current. They're everywhere over there right now. That's a monster. This is a beautiful fish. This is the one I was after right here. Now it's work time.
Sockeyes feed off zooplankton, which gives the flesh its distinctive color.
This is why they're called reds right here, is the red meat. The first time you hook into a salmon, you feel the energy, you feel the fight, you feel the battle of that fish, and you get to, for a moment, just understand how powerful and how magical this thing is. I feel so lucky, and I feel like we're some of the luckiest human beings on this planet right now to be able to be here and see this. So even if I didn't catch as many as I wanted, it's just beyond words.
Protein-rich salmon provide perfect nutrition for the hard-working construction crew. But in the cradle of storms, trouble is always on the horizon.
It's gonna be a miserable day.
Oh man, it's totally decimated.
When this wind, since we're in like the sand bowl, just completely covers everything in sand. Like, what?